owl here. We're getting ready
for supper.
start. And I'm gonna plug it back in.
That's the more flow up the street.
It booted. This is good. Probably, oh, look, there we go. Look, I fixed it. All right, thanks everybody online for bearing with me there for a hot moment. As we fix that. Okay, so we're gonna open up the public hearing on the variance for the Billings property at 904 Gillespie Avenue. And Ron, if you want to read the top part there.
Pursuant to section 301 fence construction ordinance 6-2021, a variance may be granted upon written request to council. There are no fees for this type of variance request. Ordinance attached.
Thank you. So Mr. and Mrs. Billings, who reside at 904 plan to replace their current fence, which they've had in place since 1994. It is currently a 4-foot fence. Right? And they are requesting the variance to allow them to replace their existing fence with the 6-foot fence. And they gave their reason for the safety of their grandchildren and their household from potentially dangerous animals, including dogs. Under letter A, we do not have a presentation by the property owners. They did provide all of the necessary documentation to the borough. So I would open it up. Does anybody have any public comment on this variance? If you do, you can just come up to the podium.
I'm not mistaken, I think this is at least the second one we've had in the recent past. Which every time we have one, it costs money to advertise for the meeting. So I once again will express my thoughts on ordinances and resolutions. Variances are needed when the restrictions are challenged, such as tonight. Here we are again, wasting taxpayer money on a variance that will likely get rubber stamped, as have the others. In the beginning, the rationale for a fence ordinance was likely centered around the board's ability to direct the homeowner on how they can use their own property. And the parameters included in the ordinance 4 or 6 feet in height only pushed further restrictions onto the homeowner. The reason for that inclusion was for safety, to help EMS locate a home. I believe GPS has negated that argument. I would think that anybody can find anybody's home in today's world. Is a fence ordinance in place so it's easier to have prying eyes to view one's private property? The ordinance gets suggested and created without due diligence of the impact that they may create. Do we play devil's advocate when discussing the implementation of an ordinance or resolution? Or do we just enjoy impinging on property owners' livelihood and the garnering of power? This, along with other useless ordinances, need to be replaced to save taxpayer money and to lift a heavy hand on the homeowner. Every time we have one of these variances that costs, I suggest we just have one notice in the paper to maybe repeal the fence ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. And I will just provide some context to that statement. We're well aware that some of the borough ordinances need to be updated, and it's gonna be more cost effective if we do all of those things at once. I have been saying to people who've been requesting additional variances to see if they can hold out till next summer. That way we do have time to update the ordinances that we currently have, and we won't have to have any more fence variances. So that point is well made, and I would just recognize that we do want to work with our solicitor to make sure we're updating those for you. Does anybody else have any public comment on this specific item? Hearing none.
Okay. Seek a motion to approve the variance public hearing for Mr. and Mrs. Billings for property on 904 Gillespie Avenue. Need a motion. Motion by Ron, second by Henry. Questions or remarks?
Remarks? Oh, we're going to discuss it though.
That's remark.
Okay, so I asked to have Mr. Billings here. He has no front fence, so I don't understand what the variance is for, because the variance is only required if you put a fence along a street. He has no fence in the front of his property. It extends from the back of his house to the alley, around the yard to the back of his house. That's why I wanted him here. Is he extending his fence around his property? Is he just doing it in the back? If he's doing it in the back only, then there doesn't need to be a variance because that's not abutting a street. And my concern was if he was going to wrap it around his whole house, then he would have to meet the 2-foot offset and the variance on the 6-foot height. So I'm approving a 6-foot variance possibly tonight on a variance that's not needed. That's why I wanted to have Mr. Billings here to talk to him. See, is he going to go now around the whole property? And then is he aware if he does that, it has to be offset and there's other rules and that's part of the permit process. So I still don't know tonight if it's just replacing his current fence, then there doesn't need to be a variance because it's not abutting a street. If you drive down the alley, it goes from his back porch out to the alley. and kind of cuts in right at the back of the house. That's not abutting a street.
Okay.
When Mr. Billings, first made the request, it was before he recognized the fact that we were gonna update the fence ordinance. So we had already had mentioned his property in several of the borough meetings. So he said, why don't we just go ahead and move forward with it? Just for formal occasion, he's not planning on wrapping it the way around. For right now, he's just planning on doing the existing fence that's already there. So he wanted to make sure that he was dotting his i's, crossing his t's, making sure that there wasn't gonna be any issues in the future. And then as I was telling him that we plan to update the ordinance, I do believe that they'll wait until we update the ordinance itself in 2027 to finish the fence. But the request itself was just for his current fence. Brandon, did you have anything to add to that?
When I talked with him way back at the beginning, his main concern, he has a dog. Okay, that's pretty aggressive, and his fence along the alley at the back, okay, was a 4-foot fence, and he wanted to make it high, a 6-foot fence. Okay, the whole way around his backyard. Okay, so he wouldn't have to worry about his dog getting out. Now, being that there's an alley back there, okay, I took that as that being a street. Because it is a thoroughfare used by the general public, okay, like a street, and traffic goes up and down that alley like a street. So that's why I had gave him the copy of the ordinance and stressed that. Does that help you out, Bob?
It does, but the ordinance doesn't address alleys. That was my concern. I mean, that wasn't, if Mr. Billings would have been here at the last meeting and explained that,
Okay,
then I would have known.
well,
And maybe been able to make a decision, and then he's not here tonight. And once again,
well, that's
I
my,
know you two know a little bit about it, but
yeah, that's my bad, because he asked me when I posted his house if he needed to be here, and I said, no, he did not. They were gonna have the hearing. So, and he's out of town, as far as I know.
I would just recommend in the future, if somebody's having a variance here, and I would recommend they be here to clear up any issues that we don't have delays or misunderstandings.
That's fair. And we can make sure we do that. We just didn't want to inconvenience. They had traveling plans. And we didn't want to push this further down the line for them. So I did confirm with Brandon he didn't have to.
I'm not gonna vote on something unless I get all the info.
Those three on the table.
Good.
And motion was by Ron, second by Henry. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. 6-0.
We'll need a motion to adjourn this.
Seek a motion to adjourn from the public hearing. Motion by Mark, second by Henry. Questions or remarks?
Question.
All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. 6-0.
We'll need a motion to enter into the regularly scheduled meeting.
Motion to enter in a scheduled meeting. Motion by Perry, second by Ron. All in favor? Opposed? Have it 6-0.
So we're on number 2, reports. We did our roll call, our pledge, and our moment of silence. I was gonna try something different with this meeting since I've been going a little bit untraditional by allowing us to have discussion throughout the meeting. And that as we have our discussions, it usually just covers pretty much everything I have in my borough report anyway. So as we move through each of the agenda items, I'll probably have something to say about each one. That way we can kind of keep it streamlined and keep it moving. That is also conducive of our department heads. They gave me the information that I'm going to be providing to you tonight. I do have to add that I was hoping to have a comprehensive building and facilities report for everybody tonight. I don't quite have that done. I want to make sure that it's a really nice and well put together document for you. So I probably will finish that this week. And once I do that, I'll make sure that I email that out to all of our council members, and I'll also have Jesse post it on the website for anyone to find that one. So with that, I'm gonna move to number 3, correspondence. So I just had a complaint filed with the DEP over the sump pump issue on Gillespie Avenue. And then Miss Sherry Smith spoke about that a few times at the borough meeting. And so I just wanted to let everybody know that the Public Works Department is working on putting in a little ditch, a little trench there to kind of redirect that water so that it doesn't freeze in the winter time and cause problems. As Mr. Bond noted, you know, we need to update some of our ordinances. We don't have a lot of zoning and, you know, a lot of detailed rules and regulations when it comes to some of this stuff. So these will be additional things that we'll be looking at when we go to recodify our ordinances, things that increase public safety and prevent circumstances like that from happening. There was also some correspondence for some signage, children at play signs, a no outlet sign, and then there was also a deaf child sign that I did also receive. These sign placements are not subject to traffic studies and they can be placed at the discretion of the borough. So Fran Logan and I have been working on getting some of those signs up so that we can increase safety in the neighborhood. And then there was a tree issue on Orchard Street, and I did receive the communication from Ms. Lucas, and Public Works Department and I are looking into that. It is a vacant lot, and the tree, I'll have to look at the surveys to see whether or not it belongs to us or it belongs to somebody else. So that's just a work in progress. Updating everybody on that. Any discussion or questions on correspondence? Hearing none, I'm going to grab the citizen input. Devon.
Thank you. We have 2 or 3 items that have to do with the agenda. The first one, that's the most concerning to me, I guess, is the adoption of prior meeting minutes. I find it odd that some exact verbiage is included in the minutes to be approved, while some is paraphrased. I would hope that in the past it may have been an oversight. I would hope that in the future, the minutes would reflect the exact tone and language used by all in attendance. My example, and this is from the Altoona Mirror, quote, to save taxpayers' dollars from frivolous lawsuits brought by 1 or 2 people at all times. However, in the minutes, it says, creating further controversy and to protect taxpayer resources. This exact example occurred in a recent meeting. Meeting minutes are legal documents. It should reflect the exact tone and wording prior to the meeting. Were the words used by the council member rephrased so as not to show how unethical the comments were? Number 7, motion H. Discussion on hiring a full-time officer. There has been controversial input in the community over this motion. There have been instances of hiring practices that have been potential miscues. I'm hoping that good decisions are made tonight and in the future. And also that this type of discussion takes place tonight. Will the public be allowed to weigh in on this during the agenda item? The move towards more education for government leaders should always be looked upon as a positive note. However, will the amount of reimbursement be made to the public or now in the future? The creation of a contingency account for unassigned fund balance as stated in the agenda should be a requirement for a smooth flowing administration. Every financial budget has one. Your checkbook has finances that you know are pegged for certain monthly bills. And most of you should be aware that a fair amount of finances are kept there for unexpected costs. I urge the council to make this a judgment and to create a contingency, or as they call it here, an unassigned fund balance. The money suggested for a catch basin for some pumps should not be the fix. Why should any homeowner pump dirty, perhaps hazardous water onto a public street? If any ordinance is considered in the future, I believe it should be one prohibiting sump pump discharge onto a street. Moving forward with the proposed fix for discussion will expose more issues and at what cost. For example, there's another one at the intersection of Park and Orchard. And in the wintertime, it's very slippery and very icy. Will that also cost the taxpayers with installation of a catch basin? I believe that our public works director has taken care of that for me in the past. When you stop at the end of Orchard, and go through that intersection at Park, it's nothing but a skating rink. I've seen them up there actually putting sand out to help alleviate that in the past. Yes, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. We'll address we did address the sump pump. We're gonna address the funding that you discussed, and then we will address the officer hire later in the meeting. But I do want to let you know, with some of our new software as well, we do produce summarized minutes, but if anybody wants a transcript, I'm gonna say the dirty word that I don't like, but a right to know request for the exact transcript is generally something that you can request if anybody would want a direct transcript. I will have direct transcripts from March to now. Since we've been using Microsoft Teams, we are able to provide exact transcripts of each meeting. I don't produce those in like a nice document form, but if somebody ever wants them, let us know. That is available to you.
I guess my question being is the official minutes that are kept in the borough, do they reflect these situations that I expressed, or are they gonna stay with what's in the minutes tonight that they vote on?
Generally speaking, minutes are to be pretty neutral. There's not a whole lot of guideline, that we're not required by law to write tone into the minutes. We're required by law to just provide at minimum a summary. And so I do try to stay neutral, accurate, but neutral when we're doing our minutes.
Because I do notice that my talks are almost verbatim every time I read minutes of the previous meeting. And I'm just concerned about why other folks that are in this room, everybody's reflected exactly the way they intended it to be. I feel that was a misstatement and also an attack on my character. That statement that was made a month or so ago.
Jeff, you talk a lot, and that's a good thing. I will say that I have asked Jesse to quote some of the residents that come up and speak, and that's for my purposes. It helps me to remember what you're talking about and what's going on. So it's not to like single you specifically out. You just talk the most out of most residents. But I usually do have her do some quotations from most of you, because that just helps me to remember, when I go back and look at the minutes, what I need to take care of for everybody.
And my concern was that a couple of the comments were rephrased. And my concern is why. I guess you've explained that to me that one. I'm reading my thing.
I'll move on to Ms. Kinley. Oh, you're in the corner. Hello. Okay, thank you. Recognizing the Altoona Mirror. Any questions at this time? You're doing okay? All right. Brent. Okay.
Right here, can I just reserve, the right to speak when the subject comes up later?
Yeah,
Okay.
to answer Mr. Vaughn's question, I do plan to have some discussion on the police officer hiring. I have
It's not about that.
not about that, okay.
Nope.
Just let me know what I know.
Yes, thank you. I think it's 10.
Okay. Mr. Belvia? And you know what? I'm so very ashamed of this. I can't read cursive writing. What does that say?
Buttons for black.
That's everybody.
Number 5, minutes of previous meetings. A, minutes from the May 18th, 2026 council meeting, and B, minutes from the June 1st, 2026 council meeting. Motion to approve the minutes from May 18th and June 1st as presented. The motion. Motion by Henry, second by Mark. Question or remarks? Question being called for, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 6-0. Number 6, treasury report and bills to be paid. Total revenue, $70,655.95. Number 7, A, motion to approve the treasury report as presented.
Before we make a motion, on the floor, I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention, briefly. I don't normally go through the list of bills, but, I felt that it would be appropriate to just mention something really quick. So we have a bill, and it's for, park lighting. It's in the amount of about 18,000. It's been on here, and forgive me, I don't have the big number in front of me, but I did want to let everyone know, it's on page 5 of 12. On the check detail, June 16th through July 20th. So I just wanted to let everybody know that that is reimbursable through a grant, in case anybody has questions on why that was such a large amount. And then also, I wanted to note that we did settle with the American Roofing Company, and that's on page 6. And we settled with them for the total amount of the $35,000. And then we also had $54,155 expended from our capital account for the truck, for the new public works truck. And we did opt into going with the outright purchase to save a good couple $1,000s on the interest payments. So if you happen to notice that the bills to be paid were relatively larger than what they normally are, that is why. Any questions on that?
Okay. Motion by Henry, second by Mark, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 6-0. B, a motion to approve the list of bills to be paid in the amount of $208,245.09. A list of bills to be paid was presented, which was distributed prior to the meeting. Your motion. Motion by Ron. Second by Mark. Questions or remarks? Question being called for, all in favor? Mark?
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries 6-0. C, a motion to advertise for public hearing to schedule a public hearing for August 17th at 6:20 at the Portage Borough building located at 721 Main Street, Portage, PA, to update ordinance 5-2024 temporary restoration, amending street ordinance, section 1, SS 112, paragraph 1.
I just want to add, as part of Fran and I's report, that we don't always respond to everybody's comments on Facebook, but we do see them. And we're well aware that some of the contractors that have been doing work in the area have not been putting our roads back the way that they should be. And so Fran worked with our engineer to kind of flush out some of that language so that we can hold them more accountable to making sure that our roads are looking nice and well maintained so that our vehicles can go over them very smoothly.
Roads and properties.
What's that?
Roads and properties.
Yes. We're working on it. Sorry.
Motion. Motion by Ron, second by Henry. Question or remarks?
Question.
Question being called for. Mark?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries 6-0. Advertisement Thursday, July 30th and Thursday, August 6th, 2026. Public hearing August 17th, 2026 at 6:20 PM.
I could read the ordinance update. So we'll be amending the street ordinance, section 1, subsection 112. In paragraph 1 will read 3 inches of cold or warm mix. Bituminous pavement shall be installed flush, smooth, and even with the surface of the adjoining pavement within 7 calendar days after the work is performed in roadway, sidewalk, curb, or berm. And then note berm restoration with the same type of material as previous conditions. In paragraph 2, each week, maintain temporary restoration in a smooth, level fashion suitable for driving. The borough will provide the applicant with verbal notice in 24 hours to repair any unsatisfactory conditions. If the applicant fails to rectify a defect which presents an immediate or imminent safety or health problem, the borough or its agents may do the work and impose upon the applicant the cost thereof, together with an additional 20% of the cost.
If I can interject just for a quick second. The condition of some of the temporary restoration on the streets in Ward 3 right now are horrible, okay? And that's what this is addressing, okay, to eliminate that during construction. That's all I have.
So what you're saying, this is gonna give us,
It's gonna hold the contractor accountable for after, whenever they tear a street up and then they redo the ditch, just, for temporary. That's what this is addressing, okay? And to hold it until they get to the final restoration. So we don't have streets like Johnson Avenue. All right,
I understand it. I'm
okay,
just Making it, I just asked that question so the public understands what's going on.
that's, yeah, that's whatever, that's what I wanted to say too, so.
D, approval to file necessary paperwork to move forward with the easement for phase 5 sidewalk project for easements related to map number 47-03-113.000, 46.009-109.00, and 47.013-114.00. The attached documentation. Need the motion. Motion by Ron, second by Mark. Question or remarks?
Question.
Question being called for. This is with the easements, we're gonna spend money, so roll call. Okay. Mark?
Yep.
Barry?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Ron? Yes. Paul?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries 6-0. Letter E, discussion and potential action on contract number C 0009739 between the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Financing Authority for the local share account grant contract for the total amount of $39,452 for the grant period of December 18th, 2025 to June 30th, 2028.
I'd like to have some discussion before we move forward. So this was the local shares account grant that was applied for and awarded last year. And before we kind of discuss this, there was a resolution by the council to approve that grant. We did apply for it. We did receive it. There's been some discussions and concerns about some of the flock cameras or license plate readers and such around the Portage Borough. So I wanted to take a moment to address some of that. First and foremost, addressing the camera on Mountain Avenue in Maine. I did provide a video update on that via Facebook and some of our other social media accounts. I didn't see the camera up there, but I'm not saying it's not there, but I do know that it is inactive. And when I'm done talking, maybe Chief or Fran can jump in as well. But this grant specifically is not for the pool cameras. This is specifically for the police vehicles, their body cams, and there will be one license plate reader on one of the vehicles. And dealing with these types of equipment in large cities, I can say that this equipment isn't used to flag someone who may be out of registration for a day or two, or to, flag someone for speeding. These are law enforcement tools used to help with Amber Alerts, to help with maybe, drugs, to help with any of those big major issues that we have here in Cambrian County. It is a safety measure, and, speaking from a personal note, I'm happy to know when my police officers have these types of equipment, because if somebody abducts my child, that's just gonna help them find him or her that much sooner. And so I'm gonna turn it over to Chief and Fran if they have any comments to add. But then once they're done, I would open up the floor if anybody would like to make a comment, or if anybody would like to ask us a question. Chief, do you have anything to add?
Just like the manager said, the LPRs that were on the cars that we requested through the grant, they're not for. The policies on them for registration plates and stuff it's not meant to be a tool for basic out, a month, even 30 days, or even sometimes longer, depends on what the policy is. But for stolen vehicles, murders, this is all over the state, and it links to giving us information right on. So if something would happen in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or whatever, and there's a BOLA that goes out for an abducted child, or a murder that happened, or stolen vehicles, big things like that, it'll ping and it'll tell the direction of travel. If it crosses, say it goes through Pittsburgh and it's heading this direction, it'll allow us to know that. It'll allow each department subsequently coming this way, that the vehicle was heading this way, it hit on wherever, like Johnstown or. So it just gives us another tool to be able to watch for these, and especially for, the way the times are now, the more benefit we can get, the more tools we can get, the better. So I'm not saying it's not going to be used for registration, but it's not, there's policies in place we would have to adopt prior to even utilizing these, to where it would be, you can't go down through sheets and, it starts paying them. This guy or girl is out 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. I mean, you just don't use it like that. It would be a policy set to where we don't use them unless they're 30 days out, and then it's officer's discretion even at that point, turn around and give them a warning, verbal warning or a citation, either way. So that's pretty much all I had, other than the cameras. Whenever MK told me about the camera, I had no idea what people were talking about until I talked to Fran, and Fran said the other things that he knows of are when he cuts the lines for the signal lights.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I knew of.
Yeah, whenever at the traffic lights, the intersections like Mountain and Johnson, Delancey and Main Street and all those places. Okay, there used to be loops in the blacktop that would detect the car sitting there. So that sends a signal over to the control box and operates the traffic light. I know some of you have been complaining, some people have been complaining about how long they're sitting at the light down at Delancey Drive, waiting to go up Main Street. Well, as it turns out, okay, through Caharchick Construction, who's contracted to service our lights, they said that both of the traffic loops on Main Street were broken. So they offered us a replacement, okay, to get rid of the loops in Main Street and disconnect the ones and put car detectors on the masts that hold the traffic lights up. Okay, so they're aimed at a light or the lane where a car stops, so it sends that data back to that control box. They're probably 10 inches in diameter. They're white or cream colored. Okay, and they're probably halfway up the mast. Okay, now if some people have been mistaken those for these SWAT cameras, they're sadly mistaken. That's all they are for, is just to detect the cars. Okay. We have a copy of the contract from Caharchick Construction, okay, as of lately as the latest job they performed on the Mountain No, the Delancey and the Main Street job. Okay, so, and that light's been working much better. That's the only data that those detectors are programmed, okay, to detect is the presence of a car. So anybody have any questions on that? Yes, sir.
I've done, excuse me.
Go ahead.
I've done a little bit of research on these and I am not here to say that I'm pro, con or indifferent. But I have read quite a bit and I guess my first question maybe to the chief is it not true? These spot cameras will have the ability to have a hit list. For example, if you want my plate number to be incorporated on one of your flock cameras, it will give you my whereabouts every time I go by a flock camera, such as being a hit list.
That's what the policy, but there's regulatory policies for that, to where you can't just put somebody in the system just because you want to put them in the system. There's policies on what guidelines have to be met, and it has to be a high guideline.
But there is a possibility of that. Say for example,
If you abandon a child, yeah.
say for example, you think I'm dealing drugs or something, you would have the ability to
No.
track my license plate if you so wish, and the policy allowed you to.
No, not if we think you're dealing drugs or you're a small time guy. If you're running a load from Philadelphia and you have we know you're coming in with 20 pounds, you know, and Philadelphia PD puts you into that system, that they have intelligence information from a confidential informant that you're running this type of weight into this area. Yes, Philadelphia will put you in the system if you live in Philadelphia and you're having this way.
But that's different than the local law enforcement putting a hit list per se,
There's no hit.
onto a flock.
No.
Okay, my last comment is, a Virginia Circuit Court has ruled that a city cannot use its contract with flock safety to avoid its obligations under the state's Freedom of Information Act. In other words, a private company's contract cannot override the public's legal right to access government records. The court determined that citizens may request records relating to their own vehicles, and the city must possess those requests under state law. I give this to you just be a consideration of your needs and what the potential cost for that could be. Should we get flock cameras? And 1 or 20 or 50 people in the borough request information from the borough on if there's any activity related to their vehicle, that information has to be given up according to the right to know laws.
Well, I can tell you that we are not going to generate our own policy. Okay, so it's going to go off of Richland Township. It's going to go off of, if Johnstown has them, it's going to go off of, we're going to have to get templates to be able to create policy for these. Whatever theirs is already weathered the storm through solicitors, through attorneys. They have it already set up. We are not going to, we may adopt a policy, you know, like, or a combination, that we are not going to formulate our own policy. So it's already going to be taken, it's already going to be tested.
I think I would actually,
But again, that doesn't address the fact that that information will be right to know information should somebody wish to ask for it.
Well, Mr.
I'm gonna address
I
that.
I am not there at that point yet.
yeah, like she said, I'm not sure actually what the law is on that. I would have to ask Stephanie, our solicitor. I don't have an informative legal answer to give you, but I will find out.
And I guess my last comment is I understand the reasoning if something major is going on in a bigger city and we fear that they're headed this way.
Right.
I'm okay with that. But I guess what I'm not okay with so much is with the size of this borough, do we actually have that much issues that we need to have flock cameras? I'm guessing that towns nearer to us would alert us that that type of person was headed this way.
Well,
I can attest to, you know, my day job is out in the Pittsburgh area. And we hear all the time from, like, on the news, how people are coming through from Philadelphia. They come through like Lancaster, Reading area. They're looking for the areas that have very little law enforcement presence, very little zoning or ordinances that could potentially like throw a red flag. And Portage is actually one of those areas. Allegheny County actually has had several drug cases where some people are not exactly from the borough, but from this specific area. So there is public knowledge of that sort of movement through this area.
I'm just bringing up some of the pros and cons.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, this could be a great thing for the borough, and it could also be an issue where it's gonna be
Well, it's not gonna,
misused, it could be right to know stuff.
it's
I mean,
not gonna
this-
be, it's not gonna be a tool for us to just, I mean, you can see how much we do try. We're not out to do inspection stickers. Not saying if I see one that's 60 days out that I'm not gonna stop it. We're very fair here. We're not trying to pinpoint or cause aggravation. We're trying to make sure that we get big players.
And I take your word for that, but however, you must realize that there have been several incidents and news things of abuse by the law enforcement agents.
I believe you. But that's not what we're at. That's not.
I'm
That's
not accusing you of that.
No, I know that, Mr. That's why I'm saying as far as the policy that we get is gonna be a policy that's been tested. It has been taken from big departments that have been already through all this stuff. We're not looking to have, we're not looking to try to get the average citizen or whatever. This is not what these are for. And I wouldn't allow, I mean, I'm not gonna allow an officer to go out there and start popping because there's registration plates out for 2 or 3 days. That's just not what this is about.
And again, it is a tool that you can use on who's there, when they're there, and what they may be up to. And obviously, if it's something of huge concern, I have no problem.
Right, yeah. No, I understand.
yeah. And I think you make good points, Mr. Vaughn. I will plan to follow up on that right to know question. And I'll have an answer for us over the next couple of days. But I do believe, I think all of you, like us, Portage is a beautiful place. We have a beautiful park. We have kids that grow up here. And, we just want to help keep them safe. And having equipment like this is gonna help us do that. So, thank you for your discussion points. I will open up, Mr. Scarton, you had some questions?
I had the privilege to talk to 3 different state troopers at different times when this whole situation blew up online. And I asked them, and actually, the chief more or less reiterated just exactly what they said. Even state troopers don't use it to pop registrations and stuff like that. It is used to, each one of those state troopers told me of different instances where senior citizens, more or less with like a dementia or something like that, would get lost out on the roads, and they would pop up and they would signal them, and they would be heading in a certain direction, and the next town or the next city over would start looking for that person because they were missing reports. A lot of these things you see on the state billboards and stuff, missing person, that type of thing. That's a big use for them. And I asked each one of those troopers if there's any instances where it's abused, and they said it'd be almost kind of impossible to have a hit list and to use it as that type of a tool. It's just not conducive for that type of an application. It's not really that type of an application at all. It's mainly just a tool used, like the chief said, to signal on down the road that this person or that person may be headed in your direction. And the thing that they all love the best out of this is body cams. They said body cams are they'd rather have a body cam than a pistol at times, because when they get into an argument or get into any type of a situation, that body cam bails them out 100 times if they're right. Now, there's times when the state troopers told me there's times when they lose their temper, but the body cam picks that up, and it's used as evidence.
One thing real quick I wanted to say about the registration plate. Years ago down in Blair County, I was along with several other officers. There was an individual that carjacked a guy in Maryland. He actually chopped him up with an axe, threw him out of the car, and took off with his vehicle. Well, he ended up switching the plate from that vehicle to another vehicle. Well, if the LPR would have been back then, they would have been able to pick up on that registration plate when it came past, even though it was on a different vehicle than was described whenever the carjacking happened. So it does have good benefits to it, very good benefits.
It's a it's a good tool for our police officers, and I believe it's an upgrade for our police force.
Thank you. Anybody else, public, council members?
Yeah, I think, when we do develop a policy, it needs to be strict. There needs to be a 100% adherence to it. Because I was reading today where 3 different deputies in California, were using it for non-criminal purposes. So I think we have to make it as strict and as limited as possible.
That's a great point. And I think Chief would probably agree that, with just a few officers on duty, they wouldn't have time to do that even if they wanted to.
No, I agree 100%. That's the reason why I'm not going to one department that has them to get a policy. I want to see multiple ones, and then we would all get together and figure out something and adopt it. So.
Any other comments? Members of the public? Hearing none.
Okay, need a motion. Letter E.
I would just say a motion to move forward with contract number C 0000979395 between the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Financing Authority for the LSA grant contract for the total amount of $39,452 for the grant period of December 18th, 25 through June 30th, 2028.
Motion by Henry, second by Ron. Mark,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carries 6-0.
Ron, if we could have a motion perhaps to move out of order. I do know that there are a couple people here for our bid opening and they drove a long way, so maybe we could get to that for them.
Get a motion from council, we'll move out of order. Motion by Henry, second by Mark. All in favor? Opposed? Let's have it.
Where are we jumping to on the agenda?
Did we move to item 9, the bid opening for the carded waste collection services request for RFP? You want to do the honors? It's your last time.
Oh, yeah, sure, why not? All right, okay, the first bid we have is from Pro Waste. Gonna say, I don't have my pocket knife on me.
While Fran's working on these, we're not gonna award them tonight. We are gonna read them out loud, so that everyone can hear that. We will be taking a legal review to make sure that everything included in the RFP meets our advertising standards.
Want my pocket knife?
Anticipated.
I am not prepared for this.
Just keeping you on your toes.
I guess so. Okay.
Probably like a,
Yeah, we're over the end.
it's so small. Yeah.
You're pretty well put together.
That's very nice. Usually there's a summary page. Go down the checklist, they included the RFP. We have the monthly fee rate. Drug and alcohol testing of all the workers. This one has to know that. And then. All right. So. I guess I'll read this one because, and Dalton, you're here, right? You can correct me if I read your bid wrong.
There's 2 separate bids.
Yes.
One's that you want for, if we were to pay us, and one if we were to build it.
All right. So if I say this wrong, you correct me. So we do have a bid from Pro Waste in the amount of $1 million. And that would be for the total amount of them not handling the billing for the Portage waste service. Is that correct? Or do you want to look at your bid? Because I'm not sure what the number is.
It was part of that.
Usually there's like a total section.
There was
You guys-
on bid specs.
Okay. Now I'm gonna need a total.
Sometimes bids don't have, total sections because they just come off the number.
Okay, well, then I'll just read this number. No problem, thank you. I'll just read the number and then when we take our legal review, I'll have our solicitor draft up the final letter of award. So we do have $1 million listed for the carded service where the water authority continues to do our billing for us. And then we have, under the general aggregate, we have the 2 million, listed for if the Pro Waste decides to do the billing for us, depending on how we go. So part 1 and part 2. Next.
Okay, this one is from Pro Disposal, from Evansburg, for $125,000.
That's their bid bond.
Well,
So we have our bid bond for 125,000. Right, Brian, I kind of put you on the spot there. In Monroeville, the public works director reads the bids. You're probably like, okay, you're fired.
Waste.
All right, so for Pro Disposal, the occurrence is also at $1 million. For,
I'm sorry, that's our insurance policy.
oh, thank you. Are you in the audience too? Or are you? Oh, sure you are. You know, for dumb people, you need to put the summary on.
Right up front in big letters.
I mean, me, not friend.
No, me included.
On page 6 of the bid spec sheet.
Oh, I found it. Oh, I see how you broke it down. Okay, let's read it that way. So. My apologies. When I've gotten these before, it's usually a lump sum, but I see you broke it down by cost per person instead of total cost per borough. I'm following you now. All right, so we have Pro Waste. And both of them are quoting 95-gallon trash, 35-gallon for senior, and additional 95-gallon trash. So for year 1, for Pro Waste, we have $21 a month for the 95-gallon. For the 35-gallon senior rate, we have $21 a month for year 1. For the additional 95-gallon, we have $5 a month for year 1. For year 2, for Pro Waste, we have $21 a month. For the 35-gallon trash for seniors, we have $21 a month. And for the additional 95-gallon, we have $5 a month. For year 3, we have $21 a month for the 95-gallon. For the 35-gallon senior, we have $21. And for the additional 95-gallon, we have $5 a month. For year 4, for the 95-gallon trash, we have $21 a month. For the 35-gallon trash, we have $21 a month. And for the additional 95-gallon trash, $5 a month. And of course, for year 5, the final year of the contract, for the 95-gallon trash, we have $21 a month. For the 35-gallon trash, we have $21 a month. And for the additional 95-gallon trash, we have $5 a month. For Pro Disposal, for year 1 of their contract for 95-gallon trash, we have $14.58 for the 95. We have $12.58 a month for the 35 and $7.78 for the additional 95-gallon. For year 2, that rate for 95-gallon is $14.99 a month. For the 35-gallon, it's $12.99 a month. And for the additional 95, it's $7.78 a month. For year 3, it's $15.47 a month for the 95-gallon trash, $13.47 a month for the 35-gallon trash, and $7.78 for the additional 95. For year 4, we have $15.93 a month for the 95-gallon trash, $13.93 a month for the 35-gallon trash, and $8.03 for the additional 95. And for the final year of the contract, we have $16.72 at 95 gallons, $14.72 for the 35-gallon, and $8.03 again for the 95-gallon. So having read those aloud, and letting everybody know that we'll be taking a legal review to make sure that both bids have all of the certificates of insurance and proper paperwork provided to us, we will award those bids probably the second week or the second meeting in August.
Real quick, what is the start date of the contract? When are they,
Their contract is up, I believe, in December of this year. So we won't have to make a decision closer till then.
are we doing in August?
We can award the bid if we so choose, if we're ready to do that after the legal review.
Council will get copy a spreadsheet of all of those numbers so we can compare it to the election and write all that down.
No, absolutely. I will provide you with both copies of those bids and then also provide you the legal review that will be prepared by us.
One last question on that. We'll get to look at it, but is there anyone there in there? Maybe the gentleman can answer about people who do bag service.
I'm not gonna read it, but,
No,
gentlemen, do you have an answer to that question?
Pro disposal, do you offer a bag service?
And so the spec was for part of wave service, so 95 or 35. 35 is comparable to a bag service. It's 35-gallon cart. It's an reduced rate. So we do not have a bag service, so it's part of waste service and recycling.
Okay, but I'll get to look at it. I'm just curious because in the past we've had bag service.
In the RFP, we asked for carded service because we have a lot of calls from residents where people have trash bags sitting out, maybe not in a spot where our trash services can get to it. We've had a lot of calls about vermin and raccoons and some bears, some animals getting into people's trash. And, we want to maintain a beautiful, safe community. And so carded waste is a small step that we could take to achieve that.
Okay, I didn't understand what carded.
Oh, I got you.
I do have a question, for both of you, for recycling program, what's the status for the borough recycling?
So in that RFP, there's also recycling. It was further down on the RFP list or further down on the bid sheet, but it also addresses recycling. And with a 95 gallon cart or a 35-gallon cart.
No waste, was there anything on recycling?
Just that was in bid specs, how we would do recycling.
This is more of a legal question for our team. Portage, are we at the residential number where it's mandatory for recycling containers? I don't believe we are.
I don't think we are, but I will defer to our solicitor.
That's just something I would like to get what that number is.
What I'm thinking is that with our size borough, those recycling will be optional, for the residents, whereas the trash will be.
So I can answer that. You're not required to offer to all your residents. The number's too small. Number of residents is too small. You're not required to. It's something we do now, in the borough. It's a nice program, but I think with the carded service and the ability to have a 95-gallon cart for recycling, I think you'll see that the borough residents would use it a lot more. I mean, cardboard, a lot of people are using Amazon boxes, etc., and cardboard's big and bulky. With a 95-gallon cart, you can a lot of times get rid of that. It all goes in the same cart. Pretty small fee as well.
Any other questions?
Ms. Manager, I have one question. Can you explain what carded service means? Does that mean that they will be the same kind of containers we see in other towns where the truck comes and picks them up as opposed to using your own trash can?
Correct. And if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but at least in Richland Township where I live, we do have pro disposal, and twice a year, they even clean our carts for us. They take care of dropping them off and bringing them in. And, it would be a cart for every resident who has trash. And then there was a few questions about how would we get carted services through Main Street? That would be where you would roll your cart out to an appropriate area, and, our service providers would have an individual with that specific truck to kind of help get that cart on and off the sidewalk.
Okay, in the past now. When they come by my house, they pick up my trash, and my trash is the amount of a shopping bag from Walmart. That's only the amount of trash I put out, because I do use the recyclable bins. Now, I'm gonna have to pay for a full month for 4 little bags that you get from Walmart shopping, instead of using the yellow bags in the future, regardless of which company we go with.
So you currently use the bag system.
Yes,
So I didn't take a look at Pro Waste, but I do know just from working with Pro Disposal that their senior rate is comparable, a few dollars difference than our current bag service. So I believe you pay $65 a year for the bag service.
well, I pay 30 something dollars for 10 bags, but those 10 bags sometimes will last me 3 to 4 months. Because as I said, I only have a Walmart grocery bag full of trash that they need to pick up, because the cans, the cardboard, the cereal boxes, laundry detergent, plastic bottles, those are all recyclables now. And I came from a town where we were required to recycle, and that's why I have very little trash. Them guys go by my place, they pick up one bag that's as big as a Walmart bag.
Yeah, so Pro Waste rate is $21 per month. Pro Disposal is quoting the smaller trash at $12.50 a month.
So instead of buying bags, I would be required to pay $12.50 a month. And depending on how you go, it'd be either with the water bill or a bill directly from the collection agency.
Correct. Now, we will be exploring the cheaper option, of course, but just being proactive in our thinking, I wanted to see those numbers, just to see what the difference could be.
I realize what I asked probably only reflects on on the trash curve or whatever, but thank you.
I mean, recognizing it is a little more than what you currently pay, or what maybe some residents currently pay. But I think maybe you could agree, Mr. Vaughn, that we want our town to be beautiful. And this is one of the ways in which we can help do that. Any other questions? Council? Then, I would ask we move into the motion to acknowledge the receipt of the proposal.
Any motion to acknowledge the receipt of proposals? Motion made by Mark, second by Ron. Question remark?
Question.
Question being called for. Mark,
Yes.
Perry,
yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
myself, yes. Motion carries 6-0.
I do have a question because we have quite a lot of agenda items left. The carded service gentlemen, you may feel free to leave. We're going to take a legal review of the proposals, and we will be in touch next week. So you don't have to stay. Are there any residents present that wanted to speak on a discussion item that you would like me to get to now?
Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
What was your discussion item?
And
Oh, go ahead, because I'm gonna ask to go out of order into executive session, and if you guys don't want to stick around, I want to make sure.
Number 10A.
10A.
yes.
Okay,
That's easy.
so can we take a look at 10A before we go into executive session? Does anyone have opposition to that? All right, 10A. Discussion on alley and fence request near 1006 Webster Avenue. Mr. Eric Costello and Lydia Bazilla. So, Mr. Costello came to me and wanted to ask about perhaps purchasing or having us vacate half of the alleyway there by his property. He wants to put up a shed or garage, I'm sorry, and, kind of take partial ownership of that road. And I did let him know that, we would have to have a survey done on that property. And once that survey's produced, it would have to come before our solicitor and then come before a public meeting to discuss what utilities are located on that right of way, who owns the right of way, is it profitable or good of us to vacate that specific alleyway. So right now, I'm in the process of waiting for the go-ahead from the solicitor to kind of put down that process in writing so that I can provide that to Mr. Castell. And then, of course, the fence request. We talked about the fences a little bit today. I would say that if you would want a 6-foot fence, you might as well just wait till 2027 when we update that ordinance. And then, of course, if we do decide to vacate the alleyway, I'm sure everybody's familiar with Mr. Schoenfeld's alley vacancy. It would be a similar process to that. Generally, the person who wants us to vacate the alley would be in charge of paying the costs, legal costs associated with that, including the survey, and then including any of the legal filing. And there were some concerns that were brought to us at the borough regarding, if they have the right of way and they put stone in it, is that gonna throw stone into other people's properties? And of course, if we would consider something like this, we would have to post notification of a public hearing to all of the properties that are touching that specific alleyway. So, Brandon, did I miss anything that you might want to add?
No, pretty much it's the way I was always educated on it. Everyone that borders that alley has to agree, okay, to close it. If one person opposes it, then it can't be closed. Okay, so
Thanks. And then if you want to ask any questions or.
My only question was that resident had, approached me and told me about what his plans were, and he was told that I'm guessing it was you that he talked to, told him that he could purchase the whole alley.
I sort of kind of said that, but that's not exactly what I said. I kind of said exactly what I said.
I'm going right from, his mouth, what he told me, and, through the years, we have all of our properties that adjoin that alley. And I understand that at one time it was called abandoned, or in this process that you can also vacate. But if you look at what happens after that, it's the same result. All the property owners get to have their portion of that alley, and it gets taken care of from there. Abandoned is just what we're doing right now. We're all using it, we're all taking care of it, and there's nothing to be said. My worry is that he was told that he could purchase that alley because as of Sunday, when I talked to him, he said, I want that alley because I don't want the borough telling me what I can and can't do back there.
Well, I will tell you that your information that you received from him is partially incorrect. I said if the stars align and everything works out in his favor, he absolutely probably could purchase the alley. But as I also said to him, it has to be surveyed, so that's step one. So he has to pay to have that alleyway surveyed, and he has to present a proposal to the borough. And then I have to take that proposal and I have to take it to my solicitor and say, hey, I have a resident that wants to do this. Could you outline the steps for him to try and do that? And so part of that process, again, would be to submit that application to the borough council. We would have to alert every single property owner that that specific alleyway touches. And you all would have to come in to the meeting, share how you feel about it, and we would have to go from there. So ideally, like, potentially he could purchase it, but then potentially also he could not, if nobody, if it doesn't go through the process successfully.
And I'm just gonna speak up. I'm pretty sure the borough cannot sell property. We can abandon it, and each property on the owner on each side of the alley has a right to half of it if it's abandoned. I looked at that alley today. Somebody's using it. There's tire tracks in it, so I don't.
We all, Mr. Fox, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we all use that alley.
Correct.
I mean,
And what I'm saying is,
boats in it.
and what I'm saying is that I'm hearing, I don't think it would be legal for him to buy the alley from end to end, just for his, if it's abandoned, he would get from his property line half the alley, not the,
Correct.
not the alley behind anybody else's house. Once again, I think we have a policy here somewhere that,
I remember that. That's where I'm coming from. I used to be on council also.
I know.
And I remember when this was brought up. And back when I first started, it was the general idea that the alleys were kept as the safety of the general public. If they needed to get a police cruiser, an ambulance, or a fire truck back there to help with the fire surrounding, then it's there. There's also utilities that run through there.
but I would tell you that all, that,
Yeah.
I don't know about the
Yeah.
utilities,
Yeah.
but whether the alley is considered abandoned or not, is if the borough maintains it. Do they plow? Is it an alley that's plowed in the winter time? Do they put shell down when there's potholes? We've had this issue. That's the general rule from the courts, whoever. If that alley, if Brandy goes down and plows it every year, then that's an active alley. Can't be abandoned. So it's abandoned.
Yep.
Okay, so then it can't, one person just can't get the whole alley. It's each property owner on each side of that alley has the right to now, and I don't even, and it turned into the borough doesn't even have to do anything. If it's a legal abandoned alley, then you just go do a quiet deed to get your half of the property through the courthouse.
Correct.
Not the whole alley, not
Correct.
the whole alley, just where your property house, where your property pins are. You get
Correct.
half of that alley and the individual, because there's a fence on that property. There's a 6-foot fence on that side of the alley. So that person who has that fence would be entitled to half the alley this way and the rooster that way, and it would be on the property line of that individual.
Correct. But what my problem is that Mr. Castile told me that he was told he was allowed to purchase that alley.
Well, I would say
And
that's.
I am just here because I heard that and I only have my sole right to use to that alley because I have a garage that is facing that alley. And I use that to unload my truck, unload my camper, to back it in and out. And it's fine. If you guys want to just say, hey, it's an abandoned alley. We don't touch it. We don't do anything. I don't give a crap. I'll shovel myself back there if I have to. But for him to say that he owns it and then someday tell me that he has the right that I can't go on there, that can't happen.
Right, I appreciate you bringing your concerns, and I did tell Mr. Cassell that my next step was to get a letter from our solicitor outlining the process. So he has a right to request it, he does.
Oh,
So,
no, I have no problem with that.
but we will absolutely not just allow that to like take flight and run with it, you know,
I sure hope.
you all
Because by rights,
I sure hope.
connect.
by rights, Brett, you say no, it's done.
Yeah,
I know, but also if you look at it right now, that if you abandon it, then it's a quiet, like you said, it's a quiet deal. Everybody just goes to,
Does their own thing.
if it's vacated, then everybody has to take their parts or whatever, or just say no, or whatever it is, but you can't just give one person the sole right.
Well, those were some of the options that he wanted to explore. So I said, step one, get your survey done, provide that survey and proposal to the borough so that we can look at it. So, I mean, that was just step one.
Yeah.
And our solicitor may come back to us and say, this is a terrible idea, don't do it. But he has the right to ask.
Yeah, sure. I just, like I said, I don't like the fact that he was told. that-
Well, I would say unless he has it in writing in a formal letter signed by me on my letterhead,
Mhm.
I believe that he might have misconstrued what I was saying.
Perfect.
I have a
Thank you,
question. If, say they did want to abandon that alley and split the property, don't they have to do the whole street both sides, like
Yes.
Stager just put a house.
Yes.
We own property on the other side of that road, that's that same road.
And that, I think, what did you say, Fran? That needs to be Amelia Avenue?
And it goes
No, that
behind
was,
Legion too.
That Melly Avenue, I
Melly,
believe.
I'm
Yeah.
That only goes up behind.
O'Shaven,
You have to get everybody on the whole
Yeah.
street.
Where our Legion lot is, that's
Yeah.
Melly
And
Avenue.
it's possible, but relatively improbable.
Yeah. No.
It actually goes clear under where Jordan is now.
Yeah, I just,
I mean, worst case scenario, our solicitor could come back and say like, he has a right to that section of the alley. But that's even if we, decide to kind of go along with it. So nothing's written in stone. There's been conversation about it. We're going through the proper legal procedures. This is proposed.
I take it that you're not the only one who feels that way. You want to keep
oh,
that.
absolutely not. We, like I said, we all use it. I mean, it's a kind of a comfort.
I don't really think you're gonna be worried about it.
My,
I don't think it's going to.
I have one more question. He was putting up a garage there. Who's gonna be in charge of enforcing that he is back the 2 feet off of our property line for his fence and or building?
Yeah, he would have to come to get a building
you-
permit.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you guys will make sure that he,
Tuesday, out of Evan's birthday.
okay,
When you get a
okay,
permit, they come down before he
It's your
gets,
problem.
okay,
before he builds.
okay.
That's what we want.
You can't just build it, for sure. You have to go through the proper.
Well, he's back here right now with the skid steering. He's got none, so.
I don't
Thank you
have
very
a
much.
dog in
You're
the
welcome.
fight. I don't have a dog in the fight, but if you folks all split up that property and say yours, Mr. Curley is in the middle. And you, now you've owned half that alley in the middle of that alley. How do people go past your property?
He's
if they
landlocked.
wanted to?
You don't have to give them a regular.
They're landlocked.
Yeah, see, that's it. They're landlocked.
They're technically not, because the alley extends all the way through. It goes from, I wrote these down today when I looked at it. It goes from Blair Street and it goes all the way to Ash Street. So it does go from street to street. Now Ash Street, there's a house right at the end of Ash Street, and their nice big driveway to me looked like it may or may not. It's dirt.
Well,
So they just kind of did like a swing in.
Right.
So I'm not saying they're on the alley, I'm just saying it's open. It's
along
open
the
from
side
end
of
to
the
end.
alley.
So technically, if somebody in the middle was given just their half of that little section, people on this side could still get in, people on this side could still get in.
Mhm.
It wouldn't close the alley, but once again, we have a policy and we're just gonna have to look at what the, because when it gets into this kind of stuff, it gets squirrely. Every time we deal with it, every situation, there's a million rules and you gotta make the right rules match the situation.
All you gotta do, just saying.
And in a case of an alley, Bob, okay, like they just went through this down there on Webster Avenue where they were getting Webster repaved, milled and repaved. These people still needed to have access to their houses, and that's how they got there, to the alley, okay? Now, if it's closed, what are they gonna do?
That's how we had to access our house.
Exactly. So. and it
Yeah,
was the same
I'm
one-
not arguing for either side. I'm just telling you, there's a gazillion rules that we'll have to look at. Everybody, in every situation, everybody has their rights and we have to figure out what rights everybody has.
Well, I just,
And I
I
don't
know.
have an official
when I
proposal.
looked at this, I thought this was kind of crazy,
Because when I read it today,
That
I
idea
went
was
right
even-
down and looked at it.
but I mean, I've seen crazier.
Anybody else? Questions, comments on that agenda item?
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other residents that wanted to talk about something before we go into executive session? Because we might be a little bit.
Asked about the easement right away for my property, but 302 Main Street, I've been asking about for 2.5 months now.
That would be an engineer question.
Yes, it would be. I know the street right away shows on the maps, okay, it's a 66-foot wide street. How that is, I don't know, but it's 66 feet. So that's what made those guys come in there and dig up your front yard because they went by what the map said. I know you and I talked a while back, okay, about restoration and stuff like that. you're not gonna get anywhere without a proper survey of your property.
I
You have to,
gave my survey.
you have to, you gave them a deed, you have to give them a bona fide survey. Okay, it has to be a bona fide survey with endpoints. Okay, stakes with the seals on them, and you'll have an official paper. Okay, and that's the only defense that you're gonna have going against these people. Okay,
66 feet wide. Is what you said it shows the record.
yeah,
It's 20 feet onto my property from a 34-foot road.
Mhm.
So that's 54 foot.
Yeah, see, that road could be put
And
in.
that doesn't include the other side.
Yeah,
So either way, they're over what they should be.
well, in any event, okay, in the absence of a property survey, you don't have a leg to stand on.
So who's gonna pay for that if they're shown in the wrong? I can sue them for the money or sue the borough or
Do we have,
It would be the construction company, Continental Construction, that's doing the work, okay? And I'll tell you what, just from the past, working with contractors, if they screw something up, they'll fix it as good as or better. Okay,
That's the rule.
so let's just say for a minute, it turns out that you're in the right. You get a property survey, you show these people, hey, you came on my property way in the middle of my front yard. Okay, and you prove them wrong. They'll come in, they'll regrade your whole yard, they'll plant, they'll seed, they'll do the whole 9 yards, okay?
I don't think I want them doing that.
Okay, but-
Job they did cleaning it up.
Yeah, but without a proper survey, you can call everybody from President Trump to Santa Claus and you're not gonna get anywhere. That's just how the laws are written. Okay, so,
what was your property address, sir?
302 Main Street.
water line.
And it was the water line, the water.
Yes, yeah, the water.
You're on the corner of Legion Avenue, Main.
Continental.
Right, nobody on-
They're just building where our authority told them to.
And, if you don't mind leaving your name and your phone number with Jesse for here. I will ask our solicitor if there's anything that we can do at the borough level. I don't think there is, but I will certainly ask her to see, I mean, maybe we could send a letter saying, you didn't alert this property owner, or did you talk to him before you decided to do the project? So let me just look into that for you.
And I would say, I went to a water authority meeting after I talked to the gentleman, and they're firmly believe, based on GSI road layout, that meter box is in the right spot.
That's it, yeah, they think that this GIS is pinpoint accurate for, and it's the furthest thing from it.
I'm telling you, I was working for an attorney typing deeds, they tell you that is not legal. Those GSI are only quote, artificial, so to speak, they're not legal. Thank you. Trust me, I've typed plenty of deeds.
So,
For 33 feet from the center of the road.
Center line,
It
33
doesn't matter,
feet.
the road doesn't have to be, they may have built the road. on the
Off
back.
center.
mhm.
So that's where, like Fran's saying, you need to have a property survey done
Okay.
to determine where.
The road
What
is
is
built.
that called, Regent Street?
Legion Avenue.
Because just picture you're standing just past the tunnel, looking
Yeah.
past his house.
Yeah, I've been
And
down there.
Webster Ave is just over, just a little bit. And I
Yeah.
could imagine back in the day, there was a tree right there and somebody said, just move the road over 20 feet. And make the road go to Main Street because it would be kind of real close to the tunnel. That's just, so the legal path is here based on
You should walk the alley like my house.
1902, and the road is here, but the state is saying this is the property line. This is where it was put in back when we surveyed this with a horse and a cart. That's what Franny's saying, without a legal survey, and then you might be told that's where the line is, and then you might have to try to fight that. I don't know. I don't know what,
Yeah,
I mean,
I know that doesn't sound like the right answer, but
there's pins on my property, the survey is in my deed. But apparently it's not a proper survey.
I've ran into this a couple times
That's
with
what I
other,
don't understand.
I ran into it a couple other times with property owners where the old guy that owned the property before you says, well, my corner's here. He pounds the stake in and says, this is bona fide. Same with the other corner. And it turns out Dave and I was investigating a property last summer where they were 12 feet off. Okay, a fellow put a pool alongside his house. The neighbor across the street complained he put it in the middle of the alley, whenever the alley was 12 feet on his property. Okay, and I told him the same thing, Captain, you cannot go anywhere without a proper survey. We can't do nothing, we're powerless. So, yeah,
It's a proper survey. It was accepted.
if you have a paper, if you, not a deed, not a property deed, a survey, right? That says this is my piece of property right here. If you don't have that paper, you don't have any coverage. Your deed says you own from here to here to here, but there has to be a survey where the guy comes out with the transit. They mark, they shoot different spots from different angles. It's a half a day process. That's why it costs $1,300 to get a survey.
Everything,
What's our regular engineer?
Okay,
so
so,
everything on the deed shows exact
okay,
18 degrees this way, 43
Okay.
degrees.
And
but
I
you
just,
gotta
maybe,
have the survey.
and maybe Rodney can, because I know Brian, when Brian's here, just going down Main Street with the sidewalk.
Yeah.
George Washington has his deed and his survey. The is where his sidewalk is what his piece of paperwork says he owns, and the state says, nope, that road is 2 foot wider, and we're moving in and we're putting the sidewalk here.
Eminent domain.
The state will win where that legal road is. Whether you think it's right or it's not, where the state says it. So that's what a surveys person's job would be, to research it, and put the pins in. Then you might be able to have an argument with the water company saying this, like Brandy's saying.
So if you went to the courthouse and you pulled your paperwork up there, I guess it's a prothonotary office, whatever it is. Okay, they should have, if there was a survey done, there should be a paper up there for it.
Yeah.
That's not
You know, all your
necessary.
paperwork.
No,
A lot of people get their survey, property survey, but they don't get it recorded.
Okay.
So.
You got it from the horse's mouth there, so.
I guess you could try that and maybe see if the prothonotary does have it, and then if
I
not,
have done that. I mean,
that's how they come up with a survey.
they gave me the paperwork that shows everything on it. So
well, why don't you get me a copy?
Yeah, so there should be a stamp on it. If they have that in a
Yeah.
survey, there should be a survey
there'll be a
stamp
stamp.
on there. And you should be able to go back at them and say, hey, unless it was brown and they're out of business, so. Okay,
You know what the stamp is, right? It's like embossed, it's raised, yeah, so.
I'd be more than happy to take a look at it for you and see what she has to say. We'll do anything right content or better.
It's basically the water authority.
yeah.
It's their
Their problem.
responsibility.
So, yeah,
I know,
the
but-
dealings with.
On now, it's just putting them.
They're told.
So.
Anything else before I jump into executive session? Okay.
You out of here, Mike.
Hearing none, may we have,
Oh, you need a motion to go into executive session
I
for.
need to be pretty executive.
Okay. Okay.
let's just say for a minute, friends.
Okay.
Oh, personnel matters.
Need a motion. Motion by Mark, second by Henry. Question or remarks?
Question?
All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 6-0.
But he's
On Cole Avenue, it's 9:40.
Time going executive session, 7:52.
Yeah, let's go now for it.
Take care. Thank you for your cooperation.
Yeah, no problem. 9:26.
All right. Well, what do you know? We get to stay. Hey, Ron, I feel bad for you that you have to read all those daggone numbers at the beginning of the, you know,
I gotta get
SS,
used to this.
SS 125, section
I'm sure my buddies are gonna say next year.
Yes, put this note on my
Oh,
computer.
you're it.
I thought so. Shut up.
I got this.
Oh, man.
There's the charger. I've charged that damn thing. I've put it in multiple times. It ain't fucking charged. It's just losing power. I maybe got. That's what works. Every computer I have, every phone, I come over here, Jess, what the hell? She says, oh, you gotta go right in here. There's this little rubber thing and it plugs in.
Shit, I
underneath that rubber, he's like. Yeah, this. That was the other thing. It kept saying, press on. Check it. Now I look at my computer got a button that says. It's easier just to. I did one day. I pressed every damn button around the house. I would do it. So I held this down. Pressed every here. And all over. They said, this is the time.
They always tell me.
This thing is old, and I'm on a computer freaking.
Don't hold that, brother.
If I don't get.
IT, it's broken.
She said,
During anything, it's like.
But
But if they're talking about something like.
she turned it off.
Instead of treating lumber, they gotta use white. You know, white oak will last forever.
MK, did you turn this off yet?
Yeah.
No, not yet, I did not.
There's so many.
The kid picks up where the voice is coming from.
Let me just let them know.
It's like my nosy neighbors.
Hi, everybody online. We're gonna jump into executive session, so I'm just going to mute myself before I was done speaking. So I'm just gonna mute everything and then we will be back with you shortly. Thank you. I'd like to excuse everything, I'm not gonna let that stand.
Oh, you're an each person.
Yeah, my grandparents adopted me. Alright, camera's back on, so we can do the motion.
Need a motion to go out of executive session? Motion by Ron, second by Henry. Question, remarks,
Question?
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 6-0.
All right.
Back in at 8:30.
8:30.
That was out. Now we have to read back in.
Need a motion to go into regular meeting? Motion by Ron, second by Mark. Question, remarks,
Question?
question being called for, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Alright, so in the interest of time, there are no decisions that need to be made. Votes that need to be made after executive session.
Item F, what do you want?
Yeah, item F.
We're on. Yeah. Let's find it. There we are, F.
Good to go.
On page 4 of 10, motion F.
Motion to discuss and potentially take action to install a no outlet sign and a slow child at play sign at the intersection of South Railroad Avenue and Blair Street. And to direct the Public Works Department to order and install the signage. Need a motion?
Question remark?
Question?
Remark. Okay, so I'm just, was the devil advocate, we put up one, don't get me wrong, I know these are concerned people, but we put up one child at play sign. There's children live on every street in Portage, and
Put them
ask
up
the
on
chief, there are many streets where people do not obey the speed limit sign. We might be getting, and once you do one, and people start requesting for every corner, my kid plays down here, I want a sign, just sounds great. And I'm not saying I wanna not protect kids, just saying,
It's gonna cost a lot of money over the years, yeah.
and, they're concerned with it being a dead end. There's multiple dead end streets in Portage. Is that gonna stop traffic? That leaving machine shop is down there, people are doing business, there's residents. I live on Main Street, 12 million cars come past my house every day, and I wish they would go slower, and I wish there wouldn't be so many of them. That's just the reality, to put up a sign that says dead end street. Once again, that's a money cost, and I read a little bit of the explanation from the person. Putting up a dead end sign is not necessarily gonna stop
No.
traffic.
My thoughts on that were, also adding a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign posted because it's not posted down there.
Okay, now, and as long as that's, does the ordinance state that our streets are 25?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so we have that.
Yeah. What I was gonna say was if you're talking about down Terrace Circle, we'd want it way lower than that. We'd want it 10 miles an hour. No, I'm serious. If you're going through because it's so congested,
Yeah,
like Washington Avenue, you have 25 because it's not marked, so it's automatically 25.
So we wanted to do
But when you
15,
go down around Terrace
so we
Circle,
need a traffic study.
what's that?
We need a traffic study for some of that, right?
yes.
Yeah.
But if our ordinance says streets are 25, we could put up a 25
Exactly.
as a reminder. I don't necessarily have an issue with that. And I mean, once again, once you open up the can of worms, everybody's gonna want a child at play sign. And
Yeah.
there's children live all over, it's not the,
And historically, we've done them upon request, okay? So we've always, every year whenever we do a sign order, we always account for at least 4 of them. You know, so we have them, okay? You know, I mean, you could take and put one on an existing pole. Like that has a 25-mile-an-hour posted speed limit sign on it already. You can just add this sign to it without the additional cost of $75 for a post and a stub, okay? So.
Yeah, and I don't think it's gonna be a huge issue. I mean, I think that we could just use our best discretion, and if we say there's 15 signs already in the borough, you know, we really don't need to congest our roads with any more, then we just make that decision, because
Yeah.
there's no law that says we have to have a minimum or a maximum. And if somebody feels so strongly about it, you know, let them come and present to, you know, the council.
okay, so I don't know what council members are thinking of. Like I said, I'm not against it, I'm just,
Is this a deaf child or something?
No.
We did that one.
Okay, we did.
I mean, it's really probably not something that even needs to be a motion on the agenda, but like it could be more administrative since it's something that Fran and I could do together, but to be transparent, it's on a motion on the agenda.
Any other questions? Remarks? Okay, call for, motion. Motion by Ron. Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Motion carries 5-1. Letter G, motion to discuss and potentially take action on the date for trick or treat in the borough for Saturday, October 24th, or Sunday, October 26th.
Yeah, that's a miss. It should be 25th. October, Sunday is 25th. Better.
Yes, Mr. Vaughn did let me know that because he reads the packet. Thank you for that.
Sunday, October 25th, 2026, from 4 to 6 p.m. Questions or remarks?
Remarks. So for the last 15 years, the trick or treat parade have been on the closest Sunday to trick or treat, for trick or treat. So I don't see any reason to make it Saturday. It's usually Sunday afternoon and
Sounds good.
parade, and then
The only reason I was making that distinction, and when you make the motion, somebody can just put a motion on the floor for it to be the 25th, which is Sunday. I know a lot of communities sometimes have trouble with trick or treat being on a Sunday. So I threw out the Saturday date. I wasn't sure exactly what's that?
We can go to school the next day.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess too, the kids have school the next day, so I just wanted to provide both of those dates in case, for whatever reason, we might change it, but whatever we historically do, whatever
any
you
other
guys feel.
thoughts? I'm not against changing it. I just,
And we want to check with the other municipalities, so we're all one
they,
time.
a lot of them do them on trick or treat
Right.
on
So I
Wednesday.
mean, we always coordinate with the township. So we're at the same date for both borough and township.
So is this us setting this date, or is there somebody coming to us asking for this date?
Matt's asking because he's gonna set up a parade.
So
Yeah,
then we're set. I mean, you had to be with one or the other, so
so I guess,
that's my opinion. I think stick with the Sunday.
They can contact us. Other than they,
Yeah, the township usually, I'm just not speaking of the township, but they usually follow that same
At one time
date.
they did.
And it's been that way, like I said, it's probably been 15 years that we've done it.
I'm not sure if they released their date yet, but yeah, I mean, whatever you guys wanna do. I was just trying to be inclusive, so.
It's not on. Okay, motion.
So I'll make a motion to set trick or treat for Sunday, October 25th. From 4 to 6.
Like that,
25th.
that's my typo. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was
Second
wrong.
by
I mean,
Ron.
okay.
All in favor?
Well, that's just
Aye.
fine.
Opposed? Guys have it, 6-0.
So next item on the list is motion H, which I will have some discussion on. So discussion and take potential action on hiring a full-time police officer at the rate of $25 an hour to begin full-time on Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. So for the record, I would just like to address residents whose concern over my hire. His name is Officer Kyle Pattison, and he was employed by Crescent Borough and Township, thank you. He was employed by Crescent Township. That's two, I know it. Strike three, I'm just gone. I'm gonna hand in my resignation. He was with Crescent Township, and we did see people's concerns about the specific officer. And so I just wanted to say that under Act 57, it is within my right to request a copy and to review his employment file. I did review that employment file in great depth. And from my understanding as a former human resource director and also as a borough manager, and a borough manager who has managed in counties and cities that are very much larger than Portage, I believe that this young officer is just experiencing normal what I would call young career challenges. You know, we've all been there. I made 2 mistakes on the agenda so far. This young officer just happened to have some actions, some write-ups in his file, you know, regarding, there was a minor side swipe where no one was injured. And he backed into something and then there was, something else, but I think that we need to step back and take a moment to recognize that we all make mistakes. There are unfortunately professionals in other fields in law enforcement that make very bad mistakes. I do feel that this young officer is going to be really good for the team. He was actually, I employed him part-time, on June 20th, and he's been part-time with this department, since June 20th till, you know, today. He's been doing some fantastic work. I haven't had any challenges with him with driving or, unnecessary stops. Chief's had a good experience with him. And we really need to focus on how we can come together as a community and how we can grow and how we can invest in the future generations of this borough. For example, you know, Fran, our public works director, is retiring this year, and we've had the great opportunity and privilege to have Logan on the team so that he can come in and do a really great job for us. I do believe that Officer Kyle is going to be a good investment for Portage. I've heard some really great things about him. He's done some pretty amazing work, I think, for the Portage Police Department since he's been on board. And I would note that, to provide an analogy, when you go to a neurosurgeon, they're considered a professional in their field. And when a neurosurgeon decides what surgery you might need or what course of action that you might take, it's not in anyone's habit to really question that person because they're considered a professional. So as for a manager, I am considered a professional in my field. I hold a doctorate in government management, and I would not hire someone if I felt that they would not fit well here, if I felt that they would not do a great service for this community. I care about this community. My kids recreate in this community. We come here to eat. I come here to work. You know, the safety of this community is important to me. And I do believe that we should give Officer Kyle a chance to be able to show that he is also invested in this community. And I would also note that I don't technically have to put the motion on the agenda. I know I promised when I came on board that I would be more transparent, that I would allow open discussions, that I would hear your concerns and that we would address them in a professional manner. And the Home Rule Charter of Portage Borough does offer me the sole authority to hire, fire, and discipline employees. So Officer Patterson was my hire. I would just like to note on record that, you know, if this person doesn't work out, that council had, you know, nothing to do with the hiring process and that this was my choice. So I know that we can sometimes get caught up in negative social media. I myself have been subject to a lot of negative social media, and I think that through my good work ethic and through the work that I've done with Portage Borough, you know, maybe people don't feel as negative towards me as maybe when I first came on board. We all recognize in this community that as public officials, we're going to be subject to that negative media, but I would just say that I think it's good that we give Officer Kyle a chance, and I am honored and privileged to have him as a member of our team. So with that, I will take any questions or concerns that members of the public or council might have regarding. Public can go first. Mr. Bond.
Thank you very much. And I do agree with most of what you said. There was a lot of negativity when you came aboard. And if you recall, if you don't mind me sharing, I think I personally told you, I really don't give two hoots about what you did somewhere else. It could be true, it could be false. I care more about what you do here. I have my concerns in Portage. I feel the same way with this gentleman that you're considering hiring. I've heard the negative comments about him. I don't know if they're true or false. The only thing I would ask is, if he is hired, is there a provision in there where he has a probationary period where you can easily dismiss him should he not live up to the standards or the character that you wish to have as another full-time officer in this borough?
That's an excellent question, and I'm really glad that you brought it up. So there's a couple of different laws that circulate. For example, Portage Borough does not have a police union, which is positive for us. Pennsylvania is an at-will state. So because we don't have civil service regulations, because we only have 2 full-time officers, you have to have 3 full-time officers in order to enact civil service. So there's no civil service requirements. We do not have a union. Now, I will say I did waive his probationary period only because he is on the drug task force. He would not be able to serve on that if he was under probation. So I allowed him to do that as borough manager. But at the end of the day, because we have no civil service, we have no union, that hiring that candidate is at my discretion. So if I feel for a personnel reason that he's not a good fit for this department, I have absolutely every right to terminate that employment contract.
And I agree with that. I just think that lots of times if you have a probationary period, it kind of cuts through the mustard. Should you decide to terminate somebody as opposed to a big discussion back and forth between the employee and the employer. I realize that, you probably you can fire whoever you wish, whenever you want. But I think with a probationary period, it makes it so much easier. Now, being said that he has other commitments, which make it difficult if he's on a probationary period. I understand your reason for not adding that to the mix, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah, Pennsylvania, we're afforded really great employment opportunities here. In human resource law, there's a lot of things that we can do. I could walk into Monroeville tomorrow and they could be like, you're out of here. They don't need to give me a reason. In fact, this council actually, they could enter into executive session. They don't have to give me a reason. If they think my hair is too dark and they want to fire me, although they can't say that, I don't have to have that reason. They could fire me. So I'm not saying that I want to fire him, but I would like Portage Borough to know that this was my choice. It's not council's choice. So if something awful happens, I will take the blame for that. But if it's not a good fit, I will certainly make sure that I take accountability for that and take the necessary action. But I do feel strongly that this is going to be a good fit for us.
I've been pretty supportive of a lot of the actions you've taken since you've been here, and it's on you. I guess the best way to say it.
That's a great deal. I will take full responsibility for that. I'm here to bat for this individual. I think that my experience ends to the fact that he will be a good fit, and if he's not, we can address that then.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a remarks. I would just like to say 100% support your decision. Since you've been here, have had no issues. You're right. You don't have to come to us to even discuss it. I do appreciate you bringing it to us. And I have no problems with being part of, if things go south, get on social media. I'm here to make decisions based on information. I believe you did your due diligence with this individual. Satisfied with who and everyone you talked to get to this point. Let social media bring it on.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing none. Yes, we'll move for the motion to approve the full-time hire of Officer Kyle Patterson at the rate of $25 an hour to begin effective Tuesday, July 21st, 2026.
Motion made by Mark, second by Ron. Mark,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes,
myself, yes. Motion carries 6-0.
And for the instance of time, we'll just move on to, we are on motion I.
Motion to approve Mr. Matthew D. Court to organize the Portage Halloween Parade 2026. Question remarks. Question being called for, all in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, 6-0.
okay, well, we let Mr. DeCourt know that Sugar Street is on
Yes, I'll let,
Sunday.
I have his phone number.
Good to go.
Good to go. Next.
Consideration of People's Natural Gas depths of cover variance. Item J, motion to approve a variance request from People's Natural Gas reducing the required right of way depth of cover from 36 inches to 30 inches for Vine Street and Solomon Avenue and Jefferson Avenue.
And just briefly, for sake of time, this is just because whenever our water lines were put in, they weren't put in far enough, so, to prevent people from continuing to crack all of the water and sewer and gas lines, we're granting the variance. And they'll have to do that for every project, so we'll have to be made aware of that.
Any, question or remarks on this?
Question.
Question being called for, all in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1.
Sorry, who was the nay? Oh,
Item K, discussion and potential action on approving a local government training consultant, Sam Bowles with CIVI Social to provide an in-depth 3-day training program on October 30th to November 1st on and related to ethics and social media, navigating social media, communication with residents through social media law, and related training for a conference series to be open to Cambria and Bedford County local government participants for an amount not to exceed $14,000, of which a portion of the cost may be retributed through reimbursement by sponsorship from training partners such as other local governments, contractors, and other sponsorship partners. Question or remarks?
I'm so sorry, Ron, just really quick, Mr. Fox. I can read these motions too, they're really long, but, I just wanted to let, before we voted on it, I sent out several letters, to some local governments and to some, major sponsors in the area. We will be receiving about $2,200 so far towards this, and I am hoping to continue to get money for that, so just to make you all aware that working on recouping that.
Any other questions, remarks?
Marks. I'm just concerned. That's a lot of money.
And you are absolutely right.
I know it's short term and it's not technically budgeted for this year. As we get farther into the agenda, there's other money requests. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. I'm just saying it's very short notice and a lot of money. I mean, and what do we do if we don't get a lot of participation? It's a lot of money going out without just a lot of confirmation on use.
So it is a long-term investment. The cost of that is part of some of the marketing rights to the materials that we'll be getting. A lot of organizations in Pennsylvania, like City Social for one, Local Government Academy, Local GovU, they package services. They'll do the training. So you have to do the training, you have to package the service, and then they'll provide you those materials. And so those materials are things that we can keep indefinitely. They're training videos, law packets, PowerPoints regarding like different things to do, software trainings on things like some of the new AI or some of the social media policies. So it seems like a lot for a short period of time, but in reality, what we're paying for is the long-term package deal. So one of the things that we like to do in Monroeville is to do onboarding for all of our newly elected officials and all of our staff members. And what that entails is we put together an in-house several-day training that orients all of the new hires to what government is, what services we provide. And without having to have bought a package like this from, a previous training, we wouldn't be able to provide the in-depth expertise that we are able to. A lot of small municipalities don't get the opportunity to take advantage of these trainings. If you enjoy the work that I've been doing for the borough, I've participated in many of these trainings over the years. And through my expertise, I'm able to help train and teach others as well. So I think if you look at it, A, as a long-term investment for materials that we'll be able to keep, B, as somebody who holds a PhD in the field, once I have these types of materials, this is a training that we can offer in-house ourselves. So we can create our own training programs to work with Cambria County Managers and Boroughs Association to provide trainings at their annual meetings or at their, biannual conferences that they do. And yes, that does go with a couple other agenda items. One of the agenda items we have this evening is to bring the unrestricted funds from the capital account. It was just filed wrong. We'll talk about it when we get there. Move that into the general fund and then use some of those funds to catch us up on some things like training in HR. It's not on the agenda this time, but maybe next time, internet lines. So I think it looks like a big investment now, but similar to the water company issue where we have infrastructure lines that are 50, 75, 100 years old. We've waited and waited and waited and never done anything about it. So if we do something now and we keep up with trainings and we keep up with making sure that we have education for ourselves and for our staff, then we're gonna prevent like legal issues in the future. We're gonna be better at understanding things that I'm talking about when I'm here in front of you. And so I think most residents have been understanding. Not that Facebook dictates what we do, but there have been some positive comments about providing training. And so I think residents might agree that it would be a pretty good investment. Any other questions? I'm sorry, I ranted there for a little bit.
I just kind of like to see it more of my remarks. I just personally think it's very, very quick coming up and very short notice that I would prefer to see it down the line. Got a lot of issues going on in the community right now, and I'm not saying this sounds great. I'm not against it. I just personally think it could be pushed off to early next year, or we have more time to let it absorb in with everything else that's going on. But that's just my thought.
Maybe if you could bring this up again a little bit later, or if you have a little bit more of our other neighboring local governments that are interested in attending this type of stuff.
Well, I did send out a borough, so I have the Cambria County Borough emails. Mr. Portage was able to provide me. So that email did go out already. And it did say pending approval from Portage Borough on the July 20th meeting. Please let me know your interest. I have about 35 to 40 people already interested if we do decide to do it. And I also have about 15 sponsors, 3 of which have already committed funds if we want to do it. Now, obviously, if we vote no, then of course the sponsors would get their check back. We didn't receive it yet, but they said that if it was approved, they would send it.
I have a question. K and M, the related costs?
Yes,
So K is for the material and M is for the hosting.
yes. K is material. M is hosting and also some of the legal work, the legal stuff.
So what you put out to the other boroughs, are we paying a fee to come for this?
We will, I will work with the vendors to set a fee. I'm waiting to get all of the sponsorship dollars to see how much sponsorship money we receive, and then I'll take the sponsorship money minus the total cost of the program, divide that by how many people are interested, and figure out what price would be for the other people. We do a similar program. So when I'm my day job is part of Allegheny County. So a lot of times they'll do the same thing. They'll get together with all the boroughs and they'll say, we're going to do this little conference. Here's the total cost. Here's what it's going to be per person. And then they send out a mass email with the invoice for each person. I do feel like Cambria County doesn't get to take advantage very often. Cambria County is one of the poorest counties in Pennsylvania. And I think if we have a way to spearhead something that our neighbors would benefit from, maybe we could do that. And I also do have letters into our state representatives to see if they have a pocket fund to assist.
I think it's good for a pilot and see how it works. And if it works, we continue. If it doesn't work, we write it off.
We used to do that on the turnpike. Everybody would get together for a meeting, you know. Or anything was special. They would pick a subject.
And I think it's very sellable to residents. You know, I think residents can understand that they want their borough manager, they want their staff, they want their council people to be as educated as they can be. You know, and if it's a program that's able to be reused and revamped for future generations, I think it would only make the borough better. Mr. Vaughn?
I realize that some folks on this council don't have thoughts that align with mine. However, I can tell you when I sat on a council such as this, within the first month of being elected to a board like this, we were required by the state to attend a 3-day thing. It was with the Maine Municipal Association, which basically is they're like a legal entity, although they won't go to court with you. They can give you advice and they can tell you things such as that. They tell you how to circumvent certain issues. And I guess my other thought on this is, when I look at the related things, I wonder, and I'm not saying that this is the case, but I wonder, had this training been done in the past, would we have had any issues about ethics? Would we have had any issues with the social media? Would we have any issues with the current lawsuit we have going now? Would the council have had more information then and possibly made the same decision they did, but maybe made a different decision? I, for one, am always a proponent of the more you know, the better you can govern. Maybe you folks don't feel that way. Maybe you feel that you're already there. And that's your opinion, but I see no bad side to this, especially if it's done this year and then in the future, as board members change out, it can be done in-house at basically no expense then, other than the updates in the law or updates in this or, you know, anything that might change. I would ask that you folks consider doing this, and I'm sure you'll learn something out of it.
I just like to remark again, yeah, I have no issue with it as the thought of it, great idea, but you combine K and M, it's $23,500. It's a lot of cha-ching to get something started, and I know there'll be some money recuperated, but there's no guarantee.
Mr. Fox makes a very valid point about it. It is relatively expensive, absolutely. It was not budgeted, but I have worked hard to correct some financial errors that have been happening to the borough for a little while. And with that correction, you know, we're opening up our unallocated funds. So by doing so, and by being fiscally responsible and fiscally transparent, we do have a little bit of wiggle room to do things like this year. We might not always have that wiggle room. And I do believe that one of the most important parts of this that you might not recognize is that when we come in the future for grants, or, you know, we want to be a part of a program.
This makes that grant shine.
It does. Portage Borough is small but mighty. If we show people that by spearheading pilot programs to help all of our county, by showing our elected officials that like we care about our education, that we care about being the best that we can be for our community, and we care about helping our neighbors in a regional way. One of the biggest like brownie points you can get for grants is regionalization, whether that's regional training or regional trail projects, regional grant writing, regional comprehensive plans. If we're standing next to, and I'm just throwing them under the bus, but if we're standing next to Portage Township and Portage Borough, and we're asking for a $3 million grant because we want to build a new borough building, and they look at the township's, you know, community engagement, and they look at our community engagement, and they see that we do more recreation, we do more regional events, they're probably more likely going to award us because they're going to know our name, they're going to know what we're doing.
Or remarks? Question being called for, motion,
Question.
motion by Ron. Second by Perry. All in favor? Mark, sorry,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes,
Henry,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Bob,
No.
myself, yes. Motion carries 5-1.
You might as well, since we voted to go out of order, you might as well go to motion M first, since it's directly related. So, I'll read the motion. It's really long. Motion M is discussion and potential action on approving funds to host a training in local government law, local government organizational management, ethics, leadership, and other related training courses offered through a 3-day training on October 30th to November 1st for the amount not to exceed $9,500, of which a portion of the cost may be recuperated through reimbursement by sponsorships from training partners such as other local government entities, contractors, and other sponsorship partners.
Question or remarks?
Question.
Question being called for. Mark, make a motion first, sorry. Ron. Mark. Mark,
Yeah.
Perry,
yes,
Henry,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Bob,
No.
myself, yes. Motion carries 5-1.
Going back to letter I, I'll try to help with this one. I know, Ron, you have time constraints. So discussion and potential action on paying for a percentage of the borough manager's ICMA training. So that's the International City and County Managers Association that provides national and international city management credentials to members who complete the program and continue education set for October 17th through the 21st, in an amount not to exceed $8,500. So this is a credentialed program that I am a member of. If the cost for the membership is expensive, you have to have 10 years of experience in local government and X number of years of education. And then you have to work as either assistant manager, borough manager, or county manager for X amount of time to have these credentials. It's a yearly due. So a lot of professionals in the field will have like several smaller credentials, but borough managers have one. So you can either do ICMA or there is another one that's not international, but this is the one that I'm specifically a part of. I go to the training every year, so I thought it only fair that, since Monroeville has agreed to share me with you, that perhaps Portage wouldn't mind paying. This would be 30% of the cost of the training.
8,500 is 30%.
Yes.
Like, make motion,
Okay,
motion, we agree to that.
motion by Perry, second by Ron. Any remarks? Question being called for. Mark,
Yeah.
Perry,
Yes,
Henry,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
myself, yes. Motion carries 6-0.
Motion number N, letter N, motion to approve the sponsorship letter of support for Summerfest Parade on August 8th to start at the intersection of Main Street and Caldwell Avenue, proceeding through the intersection of Main Street and Johnson Avenue, and then down Johnson Avenue to Park entrance.
Question or remarks?
Remarks.
Yeah.
Okay, so the permit, yeah, so that's.
Oh, yeah, pending park entrance, comma, if I could add to the motion, thanks, Frank. I knew I didn't fire you for a reason. Comma, pending proof of liability insurance.
And that's, the Rotary.
Depend on too. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need a letter from us to depend on.
this is just a letter acknowledging that they're having the parade and that they are requesting a permit from PennDOT, not us.
Yeah, correct.
and the date, of course.
They need to get to.
Yeah, they need to have a borough acknowledgement that this parade
It
is,
have to be the new standard, no matter what people want to do.
yeah. And, would you want also the proof of, the $5 million insurance policy or something? What did you say at the very end there?
Okay, so let me read it again
Yeah.
for the record. Motion N, moving to approve the sponsorship and letter of support of the Summerfest Parade on August 8th, 2026, to start at the intersection of Main Street and Caldwell Avenue, proceeding through the intersection of Main Street and Johnson Avenue, then down Johnson Avenue to Park entrance, comma, adding this section into the motion, pending proof of liability insurance and proper PennDOT permits. See, like when Fred's on here, you're gonna have to sit in his seat, because I won't hear all of your corrections if you're over here.
Any other remarks?
Well, the end, the last couple of words is about the permit thing is a moot, it's, it's moot, it's that if they don't get the permit, they're not gonna have the parade. So, I mean, I can see getting the insurance or whatever the liability.
Well, I mean, I'll write the letter regardless, it's
Yeah.
just that if they don't get the permit.
Yeah, if they don't get the permit, it's not gonna happen, so. I mean, really, all we need is their insurance. Their insurance, proof that they have liability, and then they can move ahead with their part of it.
And you make me read it again. A motion for what I just read, excluding PennDOT permits.
Yeah, there you go.
Question. Motion by Ron, second by Mark. No money involved, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 6-0.
All right, moving on to 8 resolutions. I'll go over this because it's lengthy. So this is a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Portage, Cambria County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the transfer of unappropriated funds from the capital budget to the general fund and amending the earned income tax allocation policy to align with the Government Finance Office Association, GFOA standards. Before I ask for a motion on the floor, I just want to go over this briefly. So, Mr. Coben has historically funneled, there was a resolution about 22, 24 years ago, where the borough had made a resolution to take 50% of the earned income tax revenue and funnel that into capital under the guide of unappropriated funds. So when somebody says unappropriated funds, that basically means that funds that have not been assigned, committed, or restricted for use. So our capital ordinance states that any capital items have to be capitally standard. So that could be improvements other than roads, could be road infrastructure, buildings, land, anything generally over $5,000. And then there's a couple other allowable costs. So this specific line item was unappropriated. So none of the money that was located in this account was set aside for a specific capital project. So after having discussions with our solicitor and our auditors, as well as the current company that's doing finance, helping us with finance, we decided to take those unappropriated funds and move them back into the general fund. And that's usually where unappropriated funds are housed, within the general fund account. And normally the unappropriated fund could also be used transferably to refer to the fund balance. So at the end of the year, January 1, 2027, we're going to have hopefully, a balance that we carry over into our next budget. So the unappropriated funds is kind of where that line item is held. And the turnover of the income tax in the resolution is basically stating we're going to reduce that allocation. So instead of doing 50% of the earned income tax, we're only going to do up to 20%. And the reason I say up to 20% is because the government, the GFOA standards, best practice states that for a capital budget, it should be about 20% of your operating budget. It doesn't have to be 20%. There will be some years where we can't make it up to 20%. So that's why the language up to 20% is existing there. And then of course, every year, and if we don't make it in August, we will definitely do it in September. We should allocate a capital budget each year, like I'm sure you're used to doing. So I will take capital requests from the staff shortly. But just to let everybody know, the total of unappropriated funds. And these were funds that have been saved up over 10, 15, 20, 25 years since this resolution was enacted. There's currently $599,844.63 that is sitting in the unappropriated funds. So that is the amount that this resolution is going to move back into the general fund. And the capital improvements allocation for 2026 was $312,873. So that includes purchase of Brand's new public works truck. It includes some of our sidewalk project, phase 5, and some other smaller items that we bought. So those are already allocated. So that's the total that we'll be spending for our capital this year. And then those two added together is $912,717.63. That is a very good fiscally responsible act that your borough administration has done previously, but I wanted to do this so that we could unlock some of those funds so that we could create a contingency line item. So we'll do that upon pending approval in the August meeting. We'll create a contingency fund, and a lot of times they like that to be about 20% of your operating budget. So that would equate to about $230,000 for us. So, you know, we're slowly moving in a direction where we'll be able to plan for emergencies. We'll be able to handle some things that unexpectedly might come up. And so I would ask at this time, everybody was provided this resolution prior to the meeting. Are there any questions before I read it into the record?
I just want to state that a couple of years ago when we were paving the park roads, there was $10,000 allocated to that project. And I needed $20,000 from the borough. And when I came and asked Bob Coburn about it, there was a bit of a, I don't want to call it a stink, but a bit of a hesitancy because he wasn't able to reach out and find that $10,000 somewhere, you know, in a contingency fund or would it, you know, the fund that you spoke about. And that did make it harder for us as a council. Just to increase that from 10,000 to 20,000 was a hassle for council. And so I can understand why MK wants to do something similar to this, because I mean, I think that was a $20,000 well spent as on part of the borough. And I think it should be a little bit easier for us to reach out and if we need it in some type of a situation where we need to reach out and get some money.
It's a great point, Perry. In instances like that, with the resolution that we're doing this evening, if that were to happen again, it could be a very simple budget amendment resolution where I would bring a resolution. I would say, you know, under account 530, under unappropriated funds, we're going to do a budget amendment resolution to award an additional $10,000 towards project A. And so that provides transparency, but it also provides a little wiggle room for instances where we might have emergency situations. I'll give you an example. So because we didn't have a contingency fund, so to speak, Fran had a piece of equipment. It was a power washer that, you know, just broke. It was like 100 years old.
Yeah.
And so we had to not do some other capital projects in order to be able to meet the emergency need of this specific project. So when you do have contingency, you can use that for capital. You could use that, maybe you had some extra staff overtime hours because there was a natural disaster and Portage flooded. You know, you just always want to have that available to you. And some years you'll use it and other years you won't, and you could just continue to roll that over for next time. Any other questions?
Yes.
Comments?
But at the end of the day, based on this, how much money will be in just the general capital improvement fund, not the capital improvement fund?
So your current capital improvement fund is the 312,873 for 2026.
Okay.
Now, I think I know where you're going with your question. So the unappropriated funds for 2026 will be $599,844.63. So in order to do additional capital for 2027, you need a new capital budget. So what you'll do is you'll say, I'm gonna take 150,000 and I'm gonna allocate it to capital in 2027. So that 150,000 will come out of your unappropriated funds, which hopefully will be larger than what it is today, because we'll have the fund balance carryover from 2026. So any unspent money will always transition into your unappropriated fund balance, and then from that unappropriated fund balance, you allocate that to capital, to operations, through the budget process.
That's the 10 to 20%.
Yes. Now, you could go over that if you really needed to. You could be under that if you needed to. That's at the council's discretion.
Okay, so if I'm hearing this right, at the end of the day, January, we're just gonna say budget year is January 1. We're gonna have $312,000 in the capital improvement fund. We're gonna add another 10 to 20% to that. That number is staying there and it's gonna be bumped up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, so on January 1, how much is gonna be in just the capital improvement fund?
I can't tell you that because we did not pass a 2027 capital budget. It would be not a great finance practice for me to give you a number because I can't make that number. You have to decide on that number. So for
But-
today, your capital budget is $312,873. That is the money we will spend by the end of 2026. December 31st, 2026, that money will be spent.
Okay, that's the allocation.
Yeah. So when I come to you in August and September and we're preparing for 2027, I will come to the department heads. I'll come to council and I'll say, what are our capital needs? So, we prioritize needs and then wants. And then we look at what we can afford. And so if we're looking at a new budget and the GFOA says 20% of your operating budget should be set aside for capital, that would be $230,000. So if we have $599,844.62 today, and we wanted to allocate 20% for capital for 2027, that would be $230,000.
Okay,
So
so,
you-
so that's what so the capital fund is not going to be, that's gonna be done every year.
Yes, and that is the finance
So
standard
it
that,
is- So and I might be thinking wrong, but I just want council to think about this. How much did we spend on sidewalk projects? So if every year we're just gonna put 20% in, you're gonna have that small amount and then you have some sort of major bridge replacement. I mean, I'm not saying there has to be 500,000 in that account, but I would like to see starts with 230,000 and we're only putting 10% in every year and it keeps growing. Instead of 50%, we take that other 40% to use. What I'm hearing is every year we're gonna add it up into a ball and only take 20%. And if our funds go down through taxes, anything crazy, then we might only be putting 180,000 in for that year, and that's all we have in that account. Is that sounding right? I'm just saying, at the end of the day, I got capital fund here that we're trying to have it for grant backup and paying for. And all we're doing is right now we have 599,000 to use. We're gonna take 20% of that, have that available, and every year, instead of taking that 230 and then adding another 20 to it, 250, 270, 290 over the years. Every year, we're just gonna be around 230, and if we have to, what are we gonna do when we have to put out $400,000 and there's only $230,000 in that account?
The 599 is not your capital improvement.
But I don't care what the numbers are, I'm just saying,
I know you're asking.
that capital fund is always just gonna be 20% of the yearly total, and it's never gonna be there, never gonna get any bigger unless we, raise $1 million in taxes somehow, and then 20% of $1 million is a lot more, but.
So let me answer your question, and I'm gonna answer it in two parts. So 230,000 will be I'm just throwing these numbers out, will be our 2027 capital budget. And then I'm not gonna do the math because I suck at math, but 599,844 minus 230 is our unallocated, unappropriated funds. So you have two pots. And then let's say that by the grace of God, we do not spend our entire budget this year in 2026. Let's say we have $110,000 left over at the end of this year from this current year's budget. That $110,000 goes into the unappropriated funds. So instead of having 250,000 in unappropriated funds, we have 360,000 in unappropriated funds. Let's say we, in 2027, decide that we're gonna write a couple of grants. Penn Township in Allegheny County actually just received a $1.2 million grant to pave their roads. So their road paving program went from 2.6 million to about, 1.2 million, because they got a grant for it. Because they wrote a comprehensive plan stating that tax dollars are dwindling, people are low income in this county. We're a rural development borough, which allots us a lot of grant, leeway. So I think if we substitute some of these things with grant writing, and we take our end of the year balance and we carry that over every year on top of 20% capital. So if we have 230,000 every year, we're moving that into capital. But then we also have a remaining fund balance. We're moving that into capital. Then you could potentially create an unappropriated funds savings account plus budget your capital every year. And I'll give you an example. So in Monroeville, which I understand is a lot larger, this year we had a $7.8 million capital budget for 2026. Our unappropriated funds were about $12 million. So we had a major renovation to one of our buildings where we went 150,000 over budget. So what we did was we created a budget resolution and we asked council, we said, we're $150,000 over our project budget. Could we please have $150 out of that $12 million unappropriated funds to cover the cost of this project? So you're using so Mr. Coben was using the capital account as a savings account. But in reality, you should be using your unappropriated funds as your savings account. Because you can take that unappropriated funds and you can invest that into what's called a pligget account. And you could get interest on your capital money. And so every time you put money into your unappropriated funds, and it's in an account like a pligget or a high interest yielding account, we're building interest. So for example, we ended up with $350,000 in interest on our capital, or our unappropriated funds account last year, because we invested it instead of keeping it locked into a checking account. So I think it's just a different way of looking at it. You're gonna have the same amount of money. It's just, you're gonna have one as an allocated capital budget and one as an unappropriated fund balance. And please let me know if that was confusing, because
I mean, the whole budget thing is always, I'm just concerned that once chunk of money is moved into the unappropriated, and once again, who knows who's gonna be at this table in 2 years and 4 years? There's other people sitting here and there's dollar signs and they vote, we're just gonna take all that money and pave every street this year, no matter what. Like if it's in the capital improvement fund, it needs to be used for capital improvement, and maybe I'm using the wrong example of a project, but or let's say Franny came to us and said, grants are falling through, we need a street sweeper, we're just gonna take $530,000 and put it towards a street sweeper instead of infrastructure. You know what I'm saying? I'm just concerned that the rainy day fund is no longer gonna be there for the rainy day.
Right, Ron.
thanks, Ron, sorry.
And I might not be understanding this completely, and I'm just saying, I don't want a whole bunch of money become available for us to just start freewheeling. Not saying that we would, but
I mean, I could freewheel it now, to be truthful. I could come to you tomorrow and say, I want to spend $590,000 and buy a new building. And that is a capital expense, and you could approve that and I could spend it. So whether you're spending it on capital or you're spending it, pulling it out of unappropriated funds, you're still gonna spend it. So you just have to be fiscally responsible with your decisions.
okay, I'm just trying to
I
clear.
think you're gonna see a totally different layout of a budget. this
Yeah,
year.
that's
You're gonna
why
be
I
able
was
to-
asking
You're gonna be like,
Yeah,
yeah, I wanna
explain-
read this.
Explain one
And you're
January.
gonna understand more with the budget than you did with the other budget.
But I do understand your concerns. We definitely don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we have zero savings, where we have zero capital. That's not a place anybody wants to be. And I think if we learn and we work on our GFOA standards, you know, we will be smart enough as a team not to do that.
Well, I think the reason he's saying this too was he was sitting on council when that happened before. Am I correct? When you had nothing. You had scrounging.
Had nothing. in it.
Well, that's why you have me, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody has to be here to say, hey, guys, you can absolutely approve this $600,000 project, but 3 years from now, when you need to replace your sidewalk, we will have zero money. So somebody has to be here to say that to you, and somebody has to, you know, as a team, we have to look at that. And that's why we're gonna do a strategic plan in 27, because I'm gonna write for you, like, here's what we have, here's some revenue projections over the next 5 to 10 years. And that's gonna help you all make decisions and to keep your money safe and well spent.
If I just
Great
make
question.
sure I understand
Absolutely.
it.
I mean, Fran tried to get a vacation approved,
don't-
but I shot him down.
I don't want Franny here in the middle of next year saying, why is the borough pension fund empty and I'm not
It
getting
won't be,
that?
it'll be like-
No, his pension fund, I'm not getting a paycheck every month because somebody unappropriated it and spent it on a new street sweeper. And Logan would just be smiling.
Yeah.
I'm driving.
to put the metal-
Okay, I just, like I said, I like to ask questions to try to, not that I completely still understand it, but
No, the budget's a really difficult thing for anybody to understand, whether you've been in government for 1 year or 20 years. You know, it's a lot of money, and it's a good thing that you're making these questions and that you're concerned about the future of the borough, because we do have to safeguard taxpayer dollars.
any other questions?
All right, so I'm gonna, if we're ready for.
Where is the motion?
Well, I have to read the, I have to read the resolution. Oh, boy.
This whole thing?
Hold on a second. Okay, so letter A, it should say a motion to approve resolution. So under 8 resolutions, letter A, should say a motion to approve resolution. So I'm gonna write that in and add that to the note. Okay, and then I'm gonna read the resolution into the record so that everybody's aware. Not trying to read fast, I'm sorry. All right, so the Borough of Portage, Cambria County, Pennsylvania, resolution number 13/2026. A resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Portage, Cambria County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the transfer of unappropriated funds from the capital budget to the general fund and amending the earned income tax allocation policy to align with the Government Finance Officers Association GFOA standards. Whereas the Borough of Portage currently maintains unappropriated and unencumbered fund balances within its capital fund account. And whereas proper accounting principles, according to the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, and the Department of Community and Economic Development, DCD, advise that unappropriated funds be budgeted within the general fund account under unappropriated and/or contingency. And whereas the borough previously established an internal financial policy resolution requiring that 50% of all earned income tax revenue collected is strictly dedicated to set aside into the capital fund. And whereas the Borough Council recognizes the necessity of maintaining adequate cash flow, liquidity, and operational flexibility within the general fund to support core municipal services and daily operations. And whereas the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, recommends maintaining adaptable financial policies that avoid overly restrictive dedicated revenue streams, advising that capital funding mechanisms be aligned with actual capital improvement needs rather than rigid high percentage mandates. And whereas the GFOA advises that capital improvement planning should be between 10 to 20% of the total revenue, up to 20% depending on availability of funds. And whereas this resolution overturns the set aside of 50% of EIT in favor of a flexible ceiling of up to 20%, which will allow the borough to meet operational demands while remaining fiscally responsible and compliant with established municipal finance best practices. Now therefore be it resolved by the Borough Council of Portage Borough, Cambria County, Pennsylvania, and it is hereby resolved by the authority of the same, Section 1, Fund Transfer Authorization, The borough manager is hereby authorized and directed to transfer unappropriated funds in the amount of $599,844.63 to the general fund under account 350.00 unappropriated funds to support general municipal operations contingency and GFOA best practices for general fund and proper budgeting. Section 2. Rescission of prior EIT policy. Any prior ordinance, resolution, or internal policy mandating a 50% set aside of earned income tax EIT revenues to the capital fund is hereby explicitly rescinded and overturned. Section 3, establishment of new EIT allocation policy. Effective immediately, the Borough of Portage establishes that up to 20% of collected EIT revenues may be allocated to capital fund. The specific percentage or dollar amount to be transferred annually shall be determined and authorized by Borough Council during the annual municipal budget adoption process, aligning with GFOA standards for flexible financial management. Section 4, repealer and severability. Any resolution or part of resolution conflicting with the provisions of this resolution is hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. If any section, clause, or phrase of this resolution is held to be invalid, such decisions shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this resolution. Section 5 is the effective date. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption, duly adopted by the Borough Council of the Borough of Portage, Cambria County, Pennsylvania, in lawful session, duly assembled this 20th day of July, 2026. Thanks for listening.
Not here again.
Oh, yeah. So, 8A, a motion to approve the resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Portage, Cambria County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the transfer of unappropriated funds from the capital budget in the amount of $599,844.63 to the general fund and amending the earned income tax allocation policy to align with Government Financial Officers Association GFOA standards. Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion by Perry. Second by Mark.
And then it's roll call because it's finance.
Mark?
Yep.
Perry?
Yes.
Henry? Yes. Bob?
Yes.
Self, yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, let me just take a moment to make sure that we've covered all the motions that are required on our agenda here. So the only items we have left is discussion items. 10. If we would like to table all of this till the next meeting, we may do so if we'd like. I have nothing, and that's an emergency.
Well, I just, real quick, somewhere we have a policy on the alley closers. Or that is a folder somewhere in the. So we just need to get that out and look at that because there are just a whole bunch of rules.
The alley closed for the summer fest, you said?
No, for the alley, this letter A on 10.
Oh, okay. I think we kind of just, kind of talked through that. It's probably not happening. But of course, that person does have the opportunity to present a proposal.
We do have another question. With the road, we signed a permit for this project. What's physically stated in that permit?
The HOP.
I don't know.
For the street there for the.
Holding them liable to the streets and keeping them up to par and passable and everything else, that people aren't destroying their vehicles.
What's for the curb and sidewalk project?
No, this would be for the water authority.
This
For the
project,
restoration.
Okay, that's a,
All right, please note for the record that we're discussing item J, discussion of continental construction ordinance enforcement in town board. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I wanna know if there's anything in there that we've stated. If not, that's something that we need to look into for future projects.
Next
Because this is the second time we've gotten burned on projects like this with the roadways.
Yeah. and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to amend, and so it'll be in place Also with looking at the HOP before it's signed and in combination with this upgrade and the temporary restoration, whenever the project happens in Ward 2 in 2 years, they'll have to follow through with all that stuff.
Exactly.
It'll be in place.
But I don't remember what it physically reads in that permit that we gave
Yeah.
them, allowing them
Right.
to
Yeah.
get into the roads and everything.
Yes.
I think we need to take a look at that, and I think we need to go into our curb to curb policy and see if there's anything in there too.
Yeah.
Because then, like I said, you got Summerfest coming, you're gonna have a lot of people on the streets, a lot of people on Johnson Avenue. We don't need to hear that somebody rolled an ankle, we don't need to hear that somebody got hurt.
Grade's walking down there too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We'll take care, we'll see what we can do.
On discussion, I would like to,
Wait, why don't we just go in order if we're gonna do all this discussion items? Okay, so 10A we covered. 10B, finances from 25-26 with this Westland Company. So we did approve a couple of meetings ago to have Westland Company assist us with reconciling our bank accounts from 25. They were so messed up that I must admit I couldn't figure out what money was missing. So they're well on their way. They should be finished up in the next month or so that we can do our financial audit. So that's going well. And they will also be assisting us with the transition to the new finance software update for QuickBooks. After 2026, they're no longer supporting the desktop version of QuickBooks, so we'll have to go to the cloud version, which actually is a little bit cheaper, to be honest, and a little bit more effective with report pulling. Questions or concerns on that? Hearing none. Motion C, I'm sorry, discussion items 10C, replacement of jetpacks in the police vehicles. So we're currently paying for a really old, outdated, what I would call police jetpacks. They operate out of like the hotspots in the police vehicles, to provide the services to look up license plates or run registrations. We actually received a grant from Verizon. I'm sorry, Verizon. For routers. So they're gonna provide the routers for the two vehicles, and then maybe Logan can install them for us, for the transition. And so it's a $1,300 expense, but we are getting the routers for free. So just to let everybody know, the current cost of those jetpacks are $40 a month. The cost of the routers are only gonna be $30 a month. So that'll be a little bit of savings with the update to the technology. Questions on that? Hearing none. Item 10D, we already talked about this, so we can move forward. We are putting the drain there on Gillespie Avenue to deal with the sump pump water. And as Mr. Vaughn and I discussed earlier, we will be looking at some updated borough ordinances to go along with that in 2027. Questions or concerns on that discussion item? Hearing none. Going to 10E, the road conditions, so update on the restoration specifics for streets with non-compliant space infrastructure. Brandon meet with the water authority and the Eats group. And so was there any additional discussion on that item? Hearing none. I'm sorry, Ron, I took over the meeting.
Good.
Motion 10F, discussion a resident raised concerning the dying pine tree. That was part of our correspondence. We did talk about that. Fran and I are looking into the ordinance. So I don't think there's anything we can do. I'm pretty sure it's a civil matter, but that was a request from a resident for us to look into that. Any questions? And that addresses 814 Orchard Street.
Yeah, I looked at it. The tree doesn't look like it's dying. It is very close to the alley, whether it's the Spades property that just got ripped down. So it's kind of like, it's right between the house property lines. It's probably on both people's. The tree probably was planted and it's now this round. Whole top of the tree is green. It's not like it's a dead tree that was killed by locusts and it's fallen over. It's a pine tree.
Yeah, there were two of them there.
Needles dry and fall, so it didn't look like to me that it was in the alley, but
Yeah, I think after my discussion with Fran, and I just need to run it by the solicitor that I'm probably just gonna end up writing them a formal letter that says, thank you for bringing this concern to our attention. This is a civil matter. You can, move forward with the civil action if you so choose. Vice President, yeah. 10G, that would be the discussion on the water authority and Johnstown Housing Authority. I did successfully find, I think, all of the relevant documents, including the bylaws. So our solicitor does have those in hand, and she will be looking at those to see whether or not we are responsible. So stay tuned for correspondence on that. And because it's a legal matter, I can't go deeply into it, but she's working on it. Questions, comments, concerns?
I have one thing to add. Okay, we got one call today that the housing authority down there is going to be replacing all of their sidewalks. So Logan and I sent them a copy of our sidewalk and curb ordinance. And they have a lot of trees down there that are right on the corners, and the sidewalks are actually up in the air like this because the trees expanded. We don't know if for them to meet the ordinance, okay, they're gonna have to probably get rid of some of those oak trees. Okay, or they're not gonna probably put their sidewalks around the curb radiuses.
I don't think they're gonna have a problem with that. They just took a plow out down there.
Yeah, there are still trees down there that are huge, so. You drive down there and take a look at some of those sidewalks, how they go.
Oh, yeah, I've
They're
seen
like-
them.
They're literally like this, going up the side of the stumps, so. And we had a question, Logan filled the question from the contractor, so he set up a meeting for 9 AM on Thursday. We're gonna meet down at the housing authority there and. You know,
They're doing that this year, Frank.
Huh?
They're doing that this year.
yeah, we got a one call on it, so yeah, it's gonna happen.
So they do have money. Just saying.
Well, they were holding us accountable like for the leaks and all that kind. I thought, well, you're gonna get a sidewalk, ordinance. You know, I mean,
Your comments, questions, concerns? Moving forward, 10H, discussion on partnership cleanup on the underpass. Logan's gonna be meeting with the fire chief tomorrow. And, they will come back with a date to kind of clean up the inside of the underpass, spray it down, make sure it's free of all the bull dust. And then on top of that, Perry and I have been working together, to figure out what the borough can do about some of the overhang as we enter into our summer and fall fest seasons. So we're working on that. Questions, concerns, comments?
and you just have to let him know ahead of time up there, Pete, or that, John,
Yeah, PennDOT back.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but they were nice enough to just let us know that we just need to call them and let them know we're gonna temporarily, close that little portion of the room. And then just let them know when we're done. This is probably the item you were looking for, Perry. 10I, discussion on Norfolk Southern and overgrowth shrubs. So yeah, do you wanna talk about that, Perry? You want me to?
Well, you can, go ahead.
Okay, so, just like we're cleaning the underpass, with the fire department, we're also looking to clean the undergrowth up over the pass just to make sure that it looks inviting, and to help clean up the community. We can touch everything that we can reach in a bucket. So we're not allowed onto the property, but any of the overhanging trees or overgrowth that we can reach from the bucket, we're able to clean up. And then anything like super large, like cutting down large limbs or whatnot, we can look into having a tree service, take care of that. Discussions, concerns, questions? Hearing none. We already talked about 10J, the discussion of confidential construction. And then the last item I have is 10K, discussion about Conemaugh Avenue, 1009 specifically, I believe is a vacant demolished lot. Someone is interested in purchasing that, so I'm not entirely sure what our process would be, so
Is it a borough-owned property?
I believe it is right now.
Yeah, that should be right below Blair Street, yeah, that's, we cut that currently. We, about 10 years ago, bought the property at a tax sale, and there was a very big white house on there that was demolished. Okay, I don't know specifics on it, but then it's been an open lot. I think it's a double lot, so it'd be a sizable lot to sell. Put it back into the tax. Base.
Was this put out to anybody else, or did they approach you that they wanna buy it?
They approached me.
Yeah, I don't
specifically,
Okay,
So,
so I'm sure you'll look into this. What's the legality of it? I know in the past, the borough did sealed bids, yes. With the option of, one person sends in a sealed bid for $1,000 doesn't mean the borough has to take that.
Except for reject.
But it gives everybody a chance to,
Right, because there was people before that had approached council and club, but they wanted to buy that.
and I think that's on any property. I'm not sure. It's been a long time. I think when we did that in the past on Caldwell, you had to do everybody send in a sealed bid, highest bidder, if the council.
Yeah, the council has the right to review.
So as we get closer to this, if we just, whatever we're gonna do is maybe we need to, as a council. Because that's a property thing that falls under executive session, doesn't it?
It does, yeah,
We
probably
can
discussion.
discuss. What we think it would be worth, what we would be, before we.
It would
open
have to
bids
be
and then-
appraised, for sure.
Yeah,
But I do want to ask Stephanie, our solicitor, about the process for that, so. I told the gentleman that it would probably be a little while before he heard back from me on the matter. I was gonna keep going. 11, unfinished business, I have none. 12, buildings and facilities and roads. I do plan on having a very nice report for everybody. I will get that to Borough Council this week, and then I'll also have Jesse post that for us online, so you'll be able to see it. Any questions or concerns on that? Hearing none. 13, new business, I have none. We already did executive session, number 14. Citizens input on non-agenda items. Mr. Vaughn.
Yes. I'll be as quickly as I can, because I know it's been a long night for me and probably you folks as well. And a disclaimer. After listening to a lot of the business that went on here during the night, I will say that this non-agenda comment I prepared it before tonight. So not all of it, I don't think is quite as appropriate as I thought it was before tonight. I do want to commend this council. I think that they made, not that my opinion really matters all that much, I guess, but I think they made some good decisions. I have sat on the council before and I understand some of the reasoning why these decisions were brought to you, and I think you did a good job at doing them. I brought up earlier about having a savings account, just like you would in your own personal checkbook. And I think that's what the manager was relaying to you about holding money to an undesignated fund. But anyway, I stand here tonight to urge this council to return to the basics of good governance. Sound, common sense decision making that directly reflects the will of the public you serve. Now, all of your decisions, of course, I hope are in the best interest of the citizens you serve. Every seat here exists for one specific purpose, to represent the people who live, work, and pay taxes in this community. When the community members attend meetings, fill out surveys, or voice their concerns, even if it is text, phone calls, or even comments made on social media. I heard there was a little reference to that tonight, but even the ones made on social media, if you were to peruse them, that doesn't mean you have to reply. That doesn't mean you have to have an opinion. But I think it gives you a little tone of what people in this borough are thinking. Lately, however, there has been a growing and uncomfortable feeling in our neighborhood that some of the decisions being made are increasingly disconnected from the practical daily realities of the people that live here. Leadership is not deciding what's best for the public in a vacuum. It's about executing the will of the public. I ask you tonight and moving forward that you filter every vote through two simple questions. Does this make practical common sense for our daily lives? And does this truly reflect what the majority of their constituents are asking you to do? Such examples, but not limited to, are some of the examples I made earlier. Block cameras, license plate readers, the oversight of the public water and sewer, which I think is going off the rails, my own opinion, and the conditions of the roadways, which I feel like you've addressed that quite well tonight. I spoke about the Virginia Circuit Court ruling on flock cameras, but here is just one Portage Borough resident that wrote this. At some point, it's smart to stop the bleeding. It's really rather simple. Pay the attorney fees, walk away from the situation, and never make the mistake again. No one likes to admit when they're wrong, but let's not use taxpayer funds frivolously to rack up more fees. Why is this same effort not put into the half-assed road work done by the construction company and water company? Let's hold those people accountable. I heard tonight that that's the plan going forward to hold them accountable. This is only one comment, and it was, yes, on social media. I think that they were probably referring to the lawsuit. I understand that's not something that can be discussed in public, but it's, in my opinion, the longer it goes, the more it costs somebody. And should the borough lose, it could be a lot. And I thought perhaps the council would do well to peruse the comments made by the voters of this borough and govern with them in mind, even if it's perusing social media. Doesn't mean all comments are negative, doesn't mean they're positive, but it kind of gives you a tone of what people are thinking in the borough. And with that in mind, I thank you. I know I talked a lot. I hope you at least give some thought to some of it. Thank you very much.
Any other citizens input on non-agenda items? Okay, hearing none, we can move into good of the borough. So everybody was aware, I'm sure, that Saturday was the vacation for the playground. And then, you know, we buried the time capsule and celebrated America 250 since we didn't have the meeting on 4th of July. As we bring everything to a close, I would say, yeah, Perry.
Before we adjourn, I just want to say I had a little bit of a brain freeze tonight when I voted on the children in play sign.
Oh, okay.
Just so that, you know, I just wanted to straighten that out. I just screwed up.
I don't even remember. What did you say? Did you say no?
I voted no, but
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know why.
Well, it passed. So,
Yeah, it passed.
It's you, Perry, we know.
I like kids.
okay. So before I take a motion to adjourn, Mr. Vaughn, take your grandkids some cupcakes because my kids are not eating all of these.
I'm all set with that, thanks.
All right. And, so yeah, I guess item 17, motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Motion made by Henry, second by Mark, all in favor?
All right. Be glad to have a
Ayes have
cupcake.
it.
Yes, please.
We're starving.
All of them.
Genesis.
Just remember that, we won't be deliberating amongst ourselves. Have cupcakes, say goodnight. For everybody online, it might take me a hot while to get the meeting uploaded. It's gonna be a really long meeting. So bear with me now. Thank you.